Michael Herzog, a retired brigadier general in the Israeli Defense Force, says Israel wants to destroy the tunnels used by Palestinian militants before ending its offensive.
There's a wide consensus that Israel should not leave Gaza before destroying all of these tunnels, because leaving them behind would amount to leaving a gun pointed at Israel's head.
Birmingham Airport is investigating how a man was apparently able to skirt security and get onto a plane at the airport. It's thought he'd missed his flight, got drunk, got onto a luggage conveyor belt and then walked across the airfield to board a plane. The 22-year-old's been charged with 2 offences, including boarding an aircraft without permission. Aviation security expert Chris Yates says he should have been stopped.
Ultimately, he would have gotten down, of course, to the baggage makeup area, and ideally there will be people there to stop him before wandering out onto the airfield and climbing up the steps to an aeroplane.
40 Dutch military police officers have flown to eastern Ukraine to help search for bodies amid the wreckage of flight MH17. Although more than 100 bodies have been sent to the Netherlands to be identified, and others are leaving soon, some bodies are still missing. A group of 20 local councils in England is asking the government for new powers to tax large supermarkets. They say small local shops are often harmed by supermarkets, and they propose a levy which would raise up to £400 million a year to help improve town centres. Ranjit Bainwaite is the leader of Derby City Council, which is heading the group. He says the change is long overdue.
The revenue that we'll be able to generate will mean that we can support local businesses, especially small businesses. We'll be able to improve public services. In some ways, we're playing a bit of catch-up here. Northern Ireland and Scotland have already successfully introduced a supermarket levy, and their local communities are already benefiting.
And look at the weather, very warm and sunny today, but there's a chance of 1 or 2 thundery showers this afternoon. The top temperature 27 Celsius, 81 Fahrenheit. Cloudy this evening and tonight and feeling cooler than of late, with lows of 14 Celsius, 57 Fahrenheit. Tomorrow, a mixture of sunshine and showers. Temperatures significantly cooler, 22 degrees Celsius, 72 Fahrenheit. And the outlook for the following few days, a mixture of sunshine and showers, but feeling much cooler. BBC WM 95.6 News. There's more online at bbc.co.uk/WM.
The Voice. The Voice.
The Voice.
The Voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
You should take in other religions and treat them as you would want to be treated yourself.
We are even more intelligent. They treated me with the utmost respect.
Iain Lee, Saturdays 9 till 12.
BBC WM 95.6.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC WM 95.6, here by the skin of my teeth. Boy, oh boy, if you knew what had been going on in the last, 15, 20 minutes, desperately trying to bring this show to a very, very busy show this week, and it seems to be full of what I can only describe as fruitcakes and nut jobs. Later on, we'll be talking about one Tory MP who thinks that if we all practised astrology a bit more, then that would take a burden off the NHS. Now, that's ridiculous enough in itself, but then you find out that this MP is a member of the Health Committee and the Science and Technology Committee. What? And he's talking about looking at stars and moons to make us feel better? A load of old nonsense, obviously. We'll also be talking about something that happened to me in the week, where I was in a shop, and there was I don't know how to describe it without sounding snobby, so I'm just going to say it and sound snobby. There was a dead common bloke, shaved head, tattoos, probably a bit drunk at 7:45 in the evening, effing and jeffing in the queue in this supermarket. Well, I went and had a word with him. I'll tell you what happened a little bit later on. But first off, there's a story that when I saw it, I thought the guy was a fruitcake. And the more I think about it, the more I think he might be on to something. He may have phrased it quite badly, but perhaps there's something there. Gordon Killick, UKIP councillor, has given his thoughts on poor people and fat people. Here's a quote from him. Let me know your thoughts on this. The people we describe as obese, thick, badly educated. They enjoy being 25 stone. They're not discontent, they're just a burden on the state. So, very simple question. We've asked variations of it before. But can fat people be happy being fat people? 03453 009956.
Have your say.
Across the West Midlands, call
03453 009956.
BBC WM 95.6.
It's kind of like a hodgepodge. I think this Gordon Killick, he's the UKIP councillor on Cambridge County Council. I think he's kind of got lots of different ideas and then splurted them out in rather a clumsy way. So he's kind of... Let's give this quote again and then let's try and take it apart and see what we can find. The people we describe as obese, thick, badly educated, they enjoy being 25 stone. They're not discontent, they're a burden on the state. So, lots of different things. It boils down to fat people are fat because they like being fat. Oh, and by the way, I'm not going to shy away from the word fat. Come on now. Oh, no, you can't call them fat. Well, they're fat. Fat is fat, isn't it? We're not going to start having that debate on BBC WM this morning. The reason fat people are fat is because they like being fat. Now, I've always thought in the past that large people, fat people, are all unhappy with their size and they want to change it. They want to change it. But maybe UKIP councillor Gordon Killick has got this right. Maybe fat people do like being fat. And all this pressure to be slim, all this pressure to diet and to lose weight, all of this the pressure to have the perfect body, well, that's coming from us. We're projecting that onto them. We're making them feel guilty or feel less than because they're a larger size. Who do I want to speak to about this morning? Well, fat people, obviously. Happy or otherwise. 03453 009956. If you've lost weight as well, why did you lose weight? I'm quite slim. In my 20s, I was very skinny. And when I turned 31, I remember I started getting a little pot belly. I'm still relatively slim, but I get a little bit of a belly sometimes. And I know that makes me feel very unhappy. I don't like that, so I eat a bit less and I walk a bit more. I'm lucky, that kind of works for me at the moment. That won't always be the way as I get older. If you're fat, are you happy being fat? Are you content with it? Or are you disappointed? Do you want to change? Are you unhappy with the way your body turned out? 03453 009956 is the telephone number if you want to give me a call. I'm joined now by Fatima Parker, who's a size acceptance and body image campaigner. Morning, Fatima. What does that mean?
It means that we would like to have respect and dignity for people of all sizes. And we are against fat shaming and bashing of fat people because they're different and so-called self-inflicting lazy gluttons.
Some of them are, aren't they?
Yeah, but we can't generalise. Because
no.
The problem is that they generalise everything. They just put us all under the same blanket of stupid, ugly, dirty, and so on. Where do you see this fat bashing taking place most often? What examples are there? Everywhere. Look around you there, in your studio. Where are the fatties as a superstar or as a major presenter?
Chris
Radio
Moyles.
or television.
Chris Moyles.
One?
But television. I mean, maybe they've just not got the jobs because they're not good enough, not because they're fat.
No, this is prejudice. Why are they? They say that there are at least 1 billion fat people. They're not all qualified, and they can't all do the job.
Okay, well, permission to speak freely, and I'm sure he won't mind. Pete Morgan, who does the breakfast show here, is a big lad. He does the breakfast show. That's the main show. I hope he's not listening.
Yes, but there's just one guy. compared to, I mean, just look at Hollywood. You have Melissa McCarthy, and she can't even get dressed. They can't even get her out, beautiful clothes and designer clothes because they don't want to touch a fatty. The articles are everywhere.
Do you think that the reason we don't have fat people on the radio and on the television and in films is that's purely prejudice?
It is, because they say they don't look good, they're ugly, they're no good, they're not sellable. Because the idea that they sell to the nations everywhere, to the world, that thin is beautiful, young, trim, slim, and firm.
Eamon Holmes is a big lad.
Yeah, but just one or two or 10 or 100.
Now, Fatima, every time I mention one, you can't keep saying that's just one. I've given you a handful.
Yeah, that's not enough. That's not enough. We're talking about a big industry. We're talking about the whole world. We're talking about... And tell me women. Let me hear about women superstars. You have Dawn French is always losing weight, and so many others.
Isn't that interesting? Yes, you said she's always losing weight. Is that because fat people are unhappy being fat?
Yeah, because society doesn't allow us to live.
Or because it's unhealthy?
That's what size acceptance is. No. The unhealthy is to live in a society that hates you. You see here, I don't want to generalize because there are probably people who eat too much who don't care about their bodies. But the general idea is that people, there's a great discrimination. The harm is it's touching the little children, and now girls that's as young as 5 and 6 are worried that they're fat, and they're not.
But being fat is unhealthy, isn't it? It's physically unhealthy.
Not. I mean, that's the mantra. That's the idea
true,
that they give us. But you see, if you live in a world that hates you, if you can't the doctor discriminates against you, if you go to do the shopping as a woman, especially, and you can't find your size, if your jokes are always, people joke about you and they insult you, they shame you and name you. You're not going to feel happy. You're going to be stressed and depressed.
But hang on, I can't. I've got really long arms. I'm struggling to find shirt sleeves that fit me. Genuinely, I can't do it. But
they should provide for that.
Well, they should do, but that's just one of life's problems. I don't consider that to be shaming.
But you probably can't find the long sleeves in one or two shops, but you probably find them online, and it's not shameful for you to go and say, "Listen, I've got long arms. Can you make something for me?" But if we go and say, "Oh, I want a size 20 or 24," they're going to just say, "Shut up, get out of here. We don't cater for people like you."
No, hang on, Fatima. I'm with you to a certain extent, but they're not going to say, "Shut up, get out of here."
Yes.
They're not going to say, "Shut up" in shops.
They're going to say, "We don't have." They look at you, they give you a dirty look, and they say, "We don't do your size here, madam." And it gets worse, especially, don't touch the boutiques. Don't go near the boutiques because, it's just like a piece of dirt to them. But if you go to like a big store or something, they could say, "Well, we don't do your size here."
But that's okay for them to say that. That's honest, isn't it?
Yeah, but what are you going to wear? You're going to look sloppy then because you can't find your size.
Do you, Fatima, this perceived hatred, do you think this is genuine?
It's real.
Well, this is what I'm going to ask you.
Yes,
is it real, or does it... It sounds like you're putting this hatred on yourself, because I'm sure in a shop they wouldn't say, "Shut up, get lost, get out of here."
They probably don't say "shut up," but they look at you like a piece of dirt. And
well, do they or is that what you perceive?
No, it is the truth. It's not only... You see, what surprises me is that the same scenario happens everywhere. I get letters from people from South America, from Russia, from China, and they all suffer the same thing. We all get the same insults, so sometimes I wonder, is there a school that teaches them ways to insult and humiliate fat people? It's all over. The only thing that changes is the language.
Fatima, stay there. Are you all right to stick around for a couple of minutes?
Yes, of course.
I'm really enjoying this conversation.
Yes,
stay there.
me too.
Thank you, Fatima. I'm talking to Fatima Parker. She's a size acceptance body image campaigner. We'll be back in a second. It's 9:15. Let's get the travel. This is BBC WM 95.6. Let's find out what's happening on the roads and the trains with Liz Saul.
Thank you very much, Ian. Good morning. As you head to the M5 going south, there's queues in the roadworks, and between 5 and 6, the Droitwich exit to the A449, a vehicle has broken down right in the middle of the roadworks, so that's additionally closing a lane, and there's an awful lot of delay and congestion as a result of this. In fact, the roadworks on the M5 causing delays in either directions, not helped, as I say, by this breakdown. Better news in Alvechurch, that accident cleared Bittall Road. It's reopened now at the junction with Aqueduct Lane. The M6 going north, the entry slip road still partially blocked as an abnormal load has broken down at junction 10, the A454 Wolverhampton and Walsall exit, although traffic is able to get by generally without too much of a problem. It's looking better around the Burntree traffic lights in Dudley as you make your way around there, but it's very heavy going in Moseley this morning, the A435. We think it's because of a farmer's market at the junction with Salisbury Road. It's also looking a bit congested as you make your way along the A456 again, going in and out of Birmingham towards Five Ways Island. Of course, the closure of the Queensway tunnels likely to cause you some extra disruption. If you can update us, call BBC WM 95.6 Travel 08453 002288.
This is the voice of Birmingham
And the Black Country. BBC WM
95.6.
Weekday mornings.
Big debates, opinions to articulate.
I don't think it's the private schools that need to change, but it's the state schools.
Afternoons, fun and chat.
Place and tune.
To the fat.
Oh, I love you.
You take care. I love you so much.
Guests and personalities.
From all of our communities.
You make me smile every day.
Oh, well, that's very kind of you.
I love your show. It's fantastic.
Give me a mark out of 10 then.
11.
If you love where you live,
It's you we should be talking with.
the voice.
The voice.
The voice. The voice.
The voice.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country. BBC WM 95.6.
Morning. This is Iain Lee, BBC WM 95.6. If you want to give me a call this morning, you're more than welcome to. 03 453 009956. Lots to talk about, but the first thing we're looking at this morning is Gordon Gillick. He's a UKIP councillor, and he's been talking about fat people. Let me give you this quote again, then we'll go back to our guest. The people we describe as obese, thick, badly educated, they enjoy being 25 stone. They're not discontent, they're just a burden on the state. Your thoughts on that, please? I'm speaking to Fatima Parker. She's a size acceptance body image campaigner. Fatima, if we can go back to the health thing we mentioned before, I can understand why shame is not a good thing to put on anybody, and that is horrible. And I can kind of understand why perhaps some fat people feel shamed. But physically, being larger is not good for your health, is it?
That's what they teach you. Let me say this, Ian. The problem is that this pressure to be thin and trying to make people thin and having this myth that fat is bad goes from childhood. They're trying to get people to be thin. So what happens is the patient or the person tries to look after their health, listen to their doctor, and especially the diet industry, and goes on the diet, loses some weight, and then the body refuses. It comes back. They're going to say, no, it's not true. The body doesn't refuse. I say, look at the data. And then we go on the merry-go-round, and then it's on the vicious circle. We go on and on and on. So you go on the diet, you lose some, and then you put more, you lose some and put more, and so on. The statistics are there. 95% of people who go on diets put the weight back on, and 90% put more weight on. So but when sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Fatima, but I'm aware that diets are perhaps not necessarily the best way forward.
No, yeah.
But being fat does raise your chances of getting diabetes and puts pressure on your heart.
It's lifestyle. Look at the sumo wrestlers. I've given this example on your channel before. Look at the sumo wrestlers. They're very big and they don't have heart attacks because they're fit.
I thought sumo wrestlers died quite young.
Yeah, but they follow a lifestyle that is unhealthy because of their exercising and their sport. They feed them too much because they want them to get fatter and fatter and fatter. But according to the BMI, they would have died a long time before they get to 200-300 pounds.
What about fat kids? That's abuse, isn't it, to have a fat kid?
Really. You see, there is a thing that we have to differentiate is between this epidemic that we're having about a lot of sugar and salt and very unhealthy, polluted, all sorts of chemicals in some of the products that the children are consuming in big amounts at the moment. This is an issue, but trying to put that under criticizing the size of the victim, as I call it, it is not fair. It is not good and it's unacceptable.
But it breaks my heart when you see fat kids.
Yes, of course.
Because that's bad parenting.
Unless they are naturally that way, that's fine. But if they're not, and if they're eating too many nutritious void foods and calorie-dense foods, that is very unhealthy. The problem is that you are noticing the health of the kids, and you're saying, oh, these fat kids are bad. But what about the thin kids that consume the same thing? And then they develop other diseases like, diabetes and heart problems and cancers, autism, so many other diseases that we're seeing a large number of now.
Fatima, look, I could talk to you all morning. You're fascinating, but
Thank you,
last
darling.
question. So I know we've got
Yeah,
and you call me darling. You're even
yes,
better. We got lots of calls on this. Thank you.
Thanks.
Are you just not accepting responsibility for being overweight? That you're blaming other people for your own problem?
No. I mean, no. If you go to my pages on Facebook, you'll see we would like to see people, because I mean I'm a certain age at the moment now that I'd like to help the youth, because if I knew what I know now, I wouldn't be the size I am now. You see, if I knew it before, I wouldn't have gone on to.
So you're not happy being fat?
I am fat. I'm obese.
But you're not happy being fat?
No, I'm happy being me.
Right,
I'm happy being me.
okay.
That's my size. That's my body. I'm not going to go into listening again to hating myself and hating my body. What we would like to get the nation to understand and to follow and to get educated on is love your body. Your body is important. You only got one. You've only got one life, and you've only got one body. Fat, thin, whatever size it is, old or young. Try and look after it. Look after your children. Feed them well. Get them to love movement and exercise. And feed them the proper nutrition. Poor people can't buy the so-called healthy foods, so they eat whatever they can afford. So this is a choice between, am I going to feed my family or am I going to let them starve and die? You see, because the good food is too expensive.
Fatima, thank you so much. Absolutely fascinating. Fatima Parker, size acceptance body image campaigner. Oh, that's opened up so many different avenues for me now. There are so many different avenues. I thought she was a cracking guest. I thought she was wrong quite a lot. It was interesting that the health issues seem to be ignored there. Isn't it a fact that if you're larger, you're more likely to get type 2 diabetes, I think, and have heart problems? And the example she used to counter that was sumo wrestlers, who I think die quite young because they're massive. I love a bit of sumo. You ever been to see sumo? Oh, I saw sumo in Tokyo once. Man, it was fun. Anyway, it's because they're big. 03453 009956. Are you happy being fat? Do you feel shame? Have you felt shamed about the size of your body? Interesting Fatima said that. And are people fat? Let's kind of boil down what Gordon Killick has said. He's pretty much saying, I think, people are fat because they're thick. 03453 009956. Darren's on the line. Morning, Darren.
Good morning, Ian. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, mate. What have you got for us?
Right, well, I'm listening to both sides. When I first started listening to yourself, I know you like to play the devil's advocate. But I must admit, I'm overweight. I'm 26 stone. I'm 6'2", and I'm overweight. It's unhealthy. However, it does insult me when people talk in the way that you started the programme.
Go on, tell me why.
Because you don't want... If you've got something that's a condition, which it is a condition, being overweight, people looking at you as though you're fat, you're ugly, and all these horrible things, you don't want people pointing it out. It's not nice, is it? That's the first.
But I've not said ugly. I don't think fat people are ugly. Is it the word fat you're objecting to?
Yeah, well, I don't really object to it, but it's the way it's said. There's a lot of words that aren't insulting, but the way you say them can be insulting.
In that case, Darren, let me apologise, because I do prefer the use of the word fat. I think it's a descriptive word. I don't think it's particularly offensive. And if I gave the impression that I think fat people are disgusting and ugly, then I obviously wasn't phrasing things properly, because that's not what I was saying at all.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I understand why people use it, but what frustrates me is I see both sides of the argument. I'm listening to Fatima now, and I don't agree with anything she says, I'm afraid, because it's not healthy to be fat. It's not nice to have to look everywhere else to buy clothes because you can't buy them in mainstream. But the problem I have with it, I don't think there's enough help out there for people who are overweight. For the simple reason, if you're a smoker or if you're a drinker, it is more socially acceptable to be like that than it is to be fat these days, I believe. I'll give you a perfect example. Yes, I stopped smoking in pubs and in all these types of places, but there's nothing wrong with everybody standing outside the hospital doors, smoking their heads off, and sitting outside pubs in little boxes to smoke. Everybody sees it as normal. If you had a bunch of gluttons sitting out round a table outside a hospital eating Mars bars and filling their faces, everybody would look and laugh. Now, how is that correct?
Is it fear, Darren? Because we don't all have the potential to become smokers, but we all have the potential to get bigger, and it's something something I'm certainly conscious of, that I don't want to become too big.
Yeah, absolutely, but it's very, very difficult, because if you're a smoker or if you're a drinker, of which I do neither and never have, if you're a drinker or a smoker and you want to stop it, you can abstain completely. You can say, right, I'm not going to put myself in that situation. I'm going to abstain from smoking 100%. I'm going to abstain from drinking 100%, and you avoid it. You can't do that with food. You have to eat. And so,
but you can cut down on the amount of food you eat.
You can, absolutely, you can. But I do believe with most people who are fat or overweight, it is down to a stressful situation, a lifestyle, and all these sort of things. I was in a situation once where I was building an extension. I was up and down ladders, and I started to get chest pains, and I was seriously worried that I was having a heart attack. Now, I went to the doctors, and I went to the hospital. They rushed me in. We went on all the tests, and what had happened, I pulled a muscle in my chest. Ooh. I'd had a panic attack, and it felt like a heart attack. But the first thing I did under that stressful situation was went to eat chocolate. Yeah. Now, that's bizarre, really, but stress makes people eat. And it's very, very difficult.
Now, this is really interesting, because I am of the firm belief that for a significant number of people, not all larger people, but for a significant number of them, being fat, eating loads of food, is an addiction. It's done to suppress stress, to get rid of shame. You feel shame because you're big, so you eat more to mask the shame, then you feel shame again. And it's to cover all kinds of things. Do you think that's the situation with you?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know I'm unhealthy because I'm so tall. Everyone says, "Oh, well, yeah, but you carry it well." That's no excuse. I'm overweight and it's bad for my health. My knees ache and I need to sort it out. And I'm trying to lose weight, but it is so difficult the older you get. And when you're in a stressful job, I mean, I'm successful. The business that I'm in, I'm a salesman, and I deal with people all day long, and I don't tend to find that people are abusive because I take it in quite a light-hearted way. I'm earning £60,000 plus, so I'm successful. So it's not to say that fat, overweight people can't be successful, but I don't believe anybody is happy being fat either.
Darren, thank you very much. I appreciate your call. 03453 009956. Nigel, we just lost you. We just lost you, Nigel. Come back on the line. Your phone's dropped off. We were about to go to you. Darren there saying he doesn't believe that fat people can be fat. Hey, guess what? He's a fat person. Now, I'm using the word fat because I don't like obese. I don't like large. Fat is a word we understand, isn't it? We all know what that means. I don't think it's a derogatory term. I don't think by saying it, I'm certainly not saying it with vitriol and hatred towards big people. I'm saying it purely as a descriptive term. Like I'd say someone's lanky, or someone's tall, or someone's skinny, or someone's black, or someone's white. Or I'm saying those as descriptive terms. There is no nastiness. There is no hidden meaning contained within those words. They're just descriptive. So are you offended by the use of the word fat? I thought we'd kind of got past that, but if you want to take a couple of steps back on this conversation, we can. 03453 00 9956. Nigel, we got you back, Nigel.
Hello.
Good morning, Nigel. What have you got for us?
Well, I'm 20 stone,
Right.
and I'm 6 foot, and I class myself as being fat.
Yeah.
I've been like this, since I was about 20-ish, and I'm now well over 50. I'm happy as I am. The only thing that does upset me is people ramming it down your face that the ideal way to be is 14, 15 stone and super fit. Why?
You're not happy, though, are you? You'd rather be slimmer.
No, I'm happy as I am. I do everything, most things that other people can do. I drive a lorry for a living. I'm up and down all the while.
Yeah.
I ride a push bike. Touch wood, I've never been in hospital for any illness to do with my weight. I have no problems with any of my joints. The only difference is I'm bigger than other people.
How old are you, Nigel?
Why is it a problem? 57.
57. All right, OK. But you know that as you get older, there are more chances of you getting diabetes, more chance of you having a heart attack or heart disease, more chance of you having problems with your cholesterol than somebody who's not as big as you. Does that not worry you?
Well, I've managed 57 years, and I haven't had any problems at all.
Yeah, 57's nothing, though. You could have another... Well, you could have another 30 years.
I could also have another 10.
Yeah.
You don't know, do you? I could be knocked over by a bus tomorrow.
We spoke to Fatima, who's a body image campaigner, and she says that she has been shamed because...
On BBC...
Oh, sorry, my fat fingers. Do apologise there. She says that she's been shamed because of the size of her body. Have you been shamed, Nigel?
No, not really. I mean, yeah, it's right what they say. Some people do look at you as being, fat. I've got people who I work with, and so, only last week I was given a lecture how I ought to lose weight and how I ought to be fit and how I ought to go to the gym. Why should I change my life? I want to be how I am, not how other people want me to be. They want me to go to the gym and do exercise and lose weight. Why? Because they want to see me slimmer. Not because I want to see me slimmer. It's because they want to, because they think that's how you should be.
I want to...
You're on about fat. You're on about calling people fat and saying fat people.
Yeah.
But why are they fat? They're just bigger than you. Doesn't mean to say they're unhappy, miserable, or ill. It just means they don't conform to what everybody wants you to conform to.
Do you think that fat's a derogatory term?
Yes. Yeah. What's wrong with large?
Because large doesn't describe it. Large could mean someone's tall or has broad shoulders. If I say fat...
It also could mean large in weight, large in size.
Well, it could do, but fat is specific. Fat, we all know what a fat person is. And I'm not saying it or repeating it to have a laugh or anything like that, Nigel. I'm not. I'm interested in kind of dissecting the words and finding out why does it offend you so much?
It doesn't actually offend me. I just don't like the word. I mean, I've come to the conclusion now, well, I have done for years, that I'm fat. People are going to call me fat. Let them call me fat. It doesn't offend me because I know I am. But there are other words you can use.
Nigel, I appreciate your time this morning. Listen, we're going to move on because we've got more calls on this. Thank you very much indeed. 03453 009956.
The Commonwealth Games 2014 have begun, and this afternoon from 2, join BBC WM 95.6 live from Glasgow as we talk to the West Midlands athletes aiming for Commonwealth gold.
BBC WM 95.6.
Sorry, I'm not in my usual studio. My fat fingers are all over the place. I've said fat. You see? Now, what does that tell us? By saying fat fingers, I meant clumsy. I meant that I was pressing wrong buttons. I was pressing buttons next to each other. Is that insulting? 03453 00 9956 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call on this. Really keen to speak to you. OK, we've spoken to some larger gentlemen. I'm really keen to speak to you if you were large and you've lost weight. You've become slim. I tell you what you don't see in newspapers anymore, or colour supplements, and I miss these. You don't see those pictures of slim men or women standing in a pair of trousers that they used to wear. You know the ones? I used to fill these trousers, and you could fit 4 of them in there. They're stood in one trouser leg. You don't see those anymore, do you? I used to fill these trousers. Now look at me. So if you've lost weight, get in touch. Tell me why. Why did you do it? Was it health? Was it bullying? Was it unhappiness? Was it the pressure from society? What made you think that you had to do that? And going back to another thing that Fatima said, if you missed her, listen again on the iPlayer after this, because she said some great stuff. I disagreed with nearly all of it. But she said we don't see larger people on the television and on the radio. You wouldn't see them on the radio, would you? Or in films. I came up with a few examples. Pete Morgan, the fella who does the breakfast show here, I'm sure he won't mind me saying, or maybe he will, maybe he hasn't realised yet, he's a big lad, right? He does the breakfast show here, the dream gig in radio. But there aren't that many. Eamon Holmes is a big lad. Doesn't necessarily look it on TV, he's a big lad. So there are a few. Should we be having positive discrimination to get larger people on television, on radio and in films? Or, here's a question. I'm putting this... there won't be many people who have the cojones, the bravery to answer this one honestly. Would you be offended, disgusted, upset, insert whichever word you want to there, if there were more fat people on television? 03453 00 9956. Kev's in King's Heath. Morning, Kev.
Morning, sausage fingers.
Thank you very much indeed, my love. What have you got for us?
I'm 5'7" and 13 stone, and I've put a bit of weight on in the last 12 months. I know I have because of a change of a job, but I'm happy. It'll drop off. I'm just that kind of person. The last 2 chaps you had on I thought were very interesting, but I'd like to pick up on a couple of things that Fatima said. One of them intriguing and one quite worrying.
Go on.
She said that all the shops she goes into, they all say shut up. I'm with you on that. I can't see that happen.
In fairness, I may have put the word "shut up" into her mouth, but she did say she was treated with contempt and go away. We don't have clothes for people like you.
Probably look her up and down and go, sorry, madam, we don't have your size. Or, the other one that we find very kind of worrying was just when you got onto children, which is a shame when children are fat. I think it's not fair on the kids when they not look like some of them you do. She said they get all kinds of things happen to them, and I'll listen back again, but I'm sure she said, amongst the other things, they can get autism from a bad diet.
Well, I got a bit confused there.
I'm not a doctor at all, but I find that really strange and concerning.
She was saying that slim children get unwell and get diseases and get conditions, and she cited autism as one of the conditions that slim children get. Well, I think... I think that fat kids, you can get autistic fat kids as well. The thing with fat children is it breaks my heart. But generally, if you see a fat kid, you're going to see fat parents.
Well, looking at it now, there seems to be... I was just 53 last week, and I look around and see kids. I think I wasn't like that when I was there. My lad's 14. He eats a horse and he'll chase the jockey, and he's like a whippet. And I'm 5'7" and 13 stone. I consider myself to be fat, I think, now. And he's like, he eats, he don't stop. You can tell when he's awake, because he's eating.
But that's what... I remember being a teenager, so a little bit older than a kid, but a teenager, and eating and eating and eating. But I was also... I was riding, 3-4 miles to my mate's house on my bike. I was running around climbing trees. I wasn't climbing trees, but, I was going around doing stuff to burn off the energy.
Just play a lot of football. Maybe that's it. I don't think Fatima likes herself, to be honest, because some of the things she was saying. I think she's got a problem with her image if she's fat. She said she's fat and happy, but from some of the things she was saying, I don't think she is. She looks like the world's against her.
Kev, I appreciate your call. I'm going to move on because I want to squeeze another call in on this. 03453 009956. Fatima's not here to defend herself, and I'm sure she would deny it. But I kind of picked up that Fatima may have had, how can I phrase this, a chip on her shoulder. Make your own jokes up, please. And that was... She's not here to defend herself. She would disagree with this, but was in some sort of denial. Are you big? Can you be happy being big? And it's one of the things that breaks my heart. When I see like a little 5-6-year-old kid that's fat, I kind of think, what chance have they got? Really, what chance have they got in life if at the age of 6 they're fat? That doesn't bode well. And you trace it back, generally, they've got big parents. It's being passed down. 03453 009956. Oh, you can text me as well. 81333. Start your text WM. Or, if you wanted to send me an email, Iain.lee, IAIN.LEE at bbc.co.uk. Coming up, you can find out what I said to a gentleman in a shop who was swearing in front of kids. But before that, let's go to Christine in Great Bar. Morning, Christine.
Good morning.
What have you got for us today?
My husband's just said, because we were listening to the radio, and he's just said you never see a fat skeleton. People say they're big-boned, and you never see a fat skeleton. They're all more or less the same size, unless they're in the giant steaks, whereas they're taller then.
As you're talking to me, I'm now Googling fat skeleton. Because you're right. I think we all know that the big boned thing is a myth.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do think you should say the word fat. I do. I always have. But a lot of people who are fat don't like the word because they feel, like the chap's just said, he feels it's offensive. Well, why? You know, you've got to have opinions. You can't always, in this country, be careful of other people's feelings. And that's what we do now. You can't speak freely about anything.
Well, I wouldn't want to offend anybody deliberately, but I personally, as a slim man, cards on the table, I don't see a problem with the word fat. I use it as I would use black, as I would use skinny, as I would use white, as I would use tall or short or stumpy. It's a descriptive word to me.
I know, but people who are fat get offended by it. And, you know, they either have to accept it that they're fat, and if not, they don't like it, do something about it.
Have you been fat at all, Christine?
Yeah, well, not obesely fat. I've always probably been, not always, but the worst I've ever been is about 2 stone over what I should be.
Right.
And now, you know, I've wasted all the money at the meetings, you know, followed this diet and that diet. And all I do now is a healthy eating plan, which is very good. But what lets me down is I like to have a drink. So it's wasted calories.
Ah, you're a boozer.
Oh, yeah,
you're
I
a
love
lush.
it. I love it.
Hey, listen, Christine, while I've got you on, we're going to be talking about something interesting in a minute. Would you ever eat a dog?
Yeah, as long as it was cooked.
It would be cooked under the... Yeah, how about a horse?
Yeah, I'd eat anything.
Really?
I couldn't do insects, I don't think.
Oh, I've eaten grasshoppers before.
Really? I was watching that programme the other week, the world's best diets, best 50 diets, and some of the Asian countries, the things and they were alive, and I really don't think I could stomach that.
But basically, any old bit of meat, you'd shove it in your mouth?
Oh, I'd give anything a shot.
Christine, thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
Thank you. Ta-ta. 03453 009956. Have a think about it, right? Dog. Would you eat dog? Would you eat horse? Zebra? Is there any meat that you wouldn't eat? You'd kind of balk at and go, oh, no, I couldn't do that. Couldn't do that. We'll be speaking to Mark Lloyd in a second, who's going to talk about bits and pieces like that. Right, where are we? It's 9:45. It's BBC WM 95.6. Let's get the travel news now with Liz.
Thanks, Ian. The M5 going south is really struggling. 4A to 6 now. It doesn't help that there were 2 breakdowns closing a lane in the roadworks section here, so between the M42 and the Worcester exit. Although they've both been cleared out of the way, it's left a trail of queuing traffic. Northbound is a little bit busy as well through the roadworks. The M6 northbound at junction 10, the entry slip road, still partially blocked. This abnormal load which broke down much earlier on this morning, although traffic is able to squeeze by without too much of an issue. Further back at junction 7 on the northbound carriageway and the exit slip road, we're getting reports of a vehicle which has broken down there, and police tell us they are on the way to the scene. It's very heavy going around Moseley on Ulster Road, the A435 and Salisbury Road. There's the farmers market going on there, and Sutton Coalfield is slow on the A38 towards Minworth Island. The A456 and Ladywood Middleway, in fact all approaches to Five Ways Island are looking rather slow for some reason, and as you head around Halesowen, passing Halesowen, the A456, that's looking very slow. The Hagley Road roundabout. If you can update us, call BBC WM 95.6 travel 08453 002288.
Hunted. What did I say at the start of the show?
Oh, bucket of pies,
If you'd have thought about it, you'd have realised.
Genuinely, this is really close, isn't it?
Sounds defeated, Mr. Wilf.
No.
Ask his name.
Am I hunted? I am.
No.
What?
I think you'll find that the timer ran out.
No, it didn't.
Yes, it did. Hunted.
With Richard Wilford.
This Sunday morning from 9. BBC WM
95.6.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC WM 95.6. It turns out you have to have the microphone on for this to work, which is a great lesson for all of us. For those of you new to the show, and I know we're getting new listeners all the time, I throw out these things to talk about. You can call in about them, or you can call in about anything. It's very much an open door policy. I know some phone-in shows on the radio are quite strict. You can only talk about what's being spoken about. We have very low standards. It's a Saturday, for goodness. It's a Saturday morning. Who wants to try too hard? We have very low standards. You can call in about anything you want. So if you want to call in about being fat, you're more than welcome to. If you want to call in about the next thing I'm talking about, eating dogs, you can. Coming up after 10, I want to hear your stories, please, of intervening in situations in public. Successful or not. I saw a fella effing and jeffing in a supermarket queue the other day in front of kids. I'll tell you in a little bit what I said. It didn't go particularly well. It didn't go particularly well. 03453 009956. Now, eating a dog is the equivalent of eating a pig. That's according to journalist John Sutter, who in a piece for CNN suggests that canine culinary skills could prove helpful in lowering the number of dogs that are killed each year. So basically, loads of dogs get put down. Well, I know, why don't we eat them? He's got a point, hasn't he? Why are we so precious about eating dogs or eating horses? What is it? Joined now by Mark Lloyd, chef, wild food expert and writer for the excellent BBC Good Food magazine. Morning, Mark. Mark, are you there?
Hello.
Oh, hello, Mark. There you are. Sorry. Wrong fader. I do apologise. Have you ever tried dog?
No, I haven't, but I really struggle with this thing that we'll eat certain animals and we won't eat others. I mean, I go to a lot of food festivals where there's a lot of food offering there, and I always ask the audience the same thing. Were you outraged by the horse meat scandal? Yes. Right. Have you tried the zebra burgers that are over there? And if you put the hands up and I go, well, hold on a second, how can you differentiate between a horse and a zebra? And I think it's that thing that when we have a pet, we absorb it into the family and we treat it like either one of our siblings or one of our children. And I think we don't differentiate between the two very clearly.
I've been a vegetarian, Mark, for 25 years, okay? 6 months ago, I started eating meat again.
Yeah.
Why did no one tell me that steak is so darn good? I'd never had a steak before. Man alive, it's wonderful.
It's awesome, isn't it? And the thing is that the thing there is that it's kind of a little bit of a primal thing as well, I think. We've got that thing in us as humans that we want to eat a mixture of things. But we've had dogs as companions for such a long time that we don't consider it to be an animal anymore, really. We consider it to be a small, four-legged, furry person that joins our family.
And it's nuts, isn't it? Because now I'm eating meat. I will, if it had a face, I will eat it because it's the same methods of execution. There's nothing different about it. It's just meat. But you're right, because we've invited dogs and rabbits to a certain extent in our homes, and because we see horses as these great big friendly things that we bet on and we ride around, we've kind of almost humanised them, haven't we?
Yeah, and I think that's where we have the issue, is that we've become so far removed from what it takes to produce our food. We get these little lumps of pink or white or brown meat in packets, and we don't associate it with an actual animal. We're so far removed from that whole process that in a lot of cases, there's not even a picture of the animal on the packet anymore. So it kind of makes people balk at the idea that could have come from an animal at any point, which is ridiculous, really. I mean, all the guys that I teach to cook and all the guys that come to the cookery school and wild food school see all the animals in their most basic form. They'll see them in the feather, they'll see them in the fur, they'll see them being cut down, because I want them to appreciate what it takes, that you've spent all that time and effort to create a beautiful animal, and you should eat everything from it. You shouldn't waste it at all. And I think it's no different with any animal that's out there walking the earth, really.
There was a story a few months ago, and I can't remember where it was. It was a butcher's shop, and there had been lots of complaints because he was hanging, full animals, pigs' heads, he was basically hanging the full animal in the shop window, and people got offended and upset. But where do they think their meat comes from then?
Listen, I had a hotel in Oxfordshire where we had our own pigs, cows, chickens, quails, all sorts of things. And we'd get guests come down in the morning who'd want to go out and walk around the farm and feed the weaners and feed the piglets. Come inside, they'd have black pudding, sausage and bacon, say how lovely it was and where did we get it from so they could buy it. So, that's kind of where we are. Now, if you look 50 years ago or 70 years ago, every house would have had chickens in the garden that they would have got their own eggs from. They would have had a local butcher who did the most beautiful displays, and it takes a lot of skill to make a window look absolutely beautiful with all those things hanging up. But now we've become so far removed from it that it kind of scares us. It kind of makes us shy away because we don't want to know about it. We don't want to see how it gets there. We just want it. And I think that it's an educational thing, that we're going to have a shortage of food on this planet at some time in the near future if we don't start sorting things out, and we have to look at more
I was going
diverse
to say, Mark,
things to eat.
It is education, because you ask some kids these days, where do carrots come from? Tesco's. So they don't even know where their vegetables come from. Do we need to kind of get this in at an appropriate age, where their food comes from, how it's farmed, how it's manufactured, what's done to it? People don't know what they're eating.
Absolutely. I did Edible Garden Show at Alexandra Palace a little earlier on this year, and we had a load of children from all the inner city schools in London, and I was holding vegetables up and saying, listen, what's this? And I was holding up celery and getting told carrot, I was getting told aubergine, all sorts of things. Within 20 minutes, I had them eating samphire, I had them eating dandelions, I had them eating oyster leaf, I had them eating sea beet, celery, all sorts of stuff that they wouldn't have even recognised before. And at the end of it, I kind of laughed because I thought about them all going back to school on Monday and saying to the dinner nanny, where's my soused samphire? Rather than.
Can you eat dandelions?
Yeah, you can eat the flowers, you can eat the leaves. They're a relative of rocket, so you can eat those things. And of course, dandelion and burdock, the drink.
Oh man, yeah. Oh, so I could just go in my garden and pluck some dandelions and eat them.
Well, I would be careful about picking them in any spaces where you think they may have been sprayed with any kind of pesticide or sprayed by a Labrador or similar. But generally, yeah, you can. I mean, there's some fantastic things out there that we walk straight by that we could eat that we have no idea about.
I am totally going to blow my children's minds tonight when I go home and start. Hey, well, another great thing is this is what we used to do as kids, and I was so pleased when I came home from work the other day and my boys were going, Daddy, 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 we found a blackberry bush. And there was a blackberry bush just round the street, and they had a big bowl, and they were picking blackberries to make a crumble with.
Well, that's it. I mean, the thing is, we just need to be very, very clear here. If you don't recognise what it is, please don't pick it and please don't eat it.
Of course.
There's horrific cases of people harming themselves and even dying. But there are some fantastic wild foods out there that we walk by to buy their distant relative from, their cultivated relative. You buy that punnet of blackberries that costs about £3 and lasts 2 days.
Yeah.
But you walk by bramble or blackberry bushes to get there. There's lots of horseradish growing at the side of the roads at the moment. There's lots and lots of berries going to start coming in the next couple of months. There's fantastic mushrooms out there, but please, please, please don't pick those unless you absolutely know what you're doing. But we could quite easily supplement our diets with those things as well.
Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you this morning. Thank you very much indeed. Mark Lloyd, cheers, mate. That's chef, wild food expert, writer for BBC Good Food magazine, which is a cracking read. Right, you can eat dandelions, can you? Boys, I'm about to blow your mind. And it was so wonderful coming home and my boys, 4 and 2, Daddy, we found a blackberry bush. And they picked a big bowl of blackberries and they were going to make a crumble. Well, their mum was going to make a crumble. And I thought, do you know what? I've not picked blackberries for 35 years. There used to be a blackberry bush around the corner from us, up some alleyway. 03453 009956. Let's go back ever so slightly to the meat aspect of it. Would you ever eat a dog? Would you ever eat a horse? Would you ever eat, I don't know, a cat? Joe's in Tamworth. Morning, Joe.
Morning, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, thank you. Would you ever eat a dog?
No, but I bet I used to breed me rabbits and used to kill them in the wartime.
And did that have any effect on you? Did you feel sad, or did you just think, supper?
No. And we used to rear our own little chickens and put them in a box with a light over it.
Put them on your windscreen?
Yeah, used to have cockerels and kill them, and I've had horse meat.
Oh, you've eaten the horse?
My dad got some, and I said to my dad, this is pretty sweet. He said, yeah, we ate a lot of that in the wartime, in his 1914 war.
So horse meat is sweet?
Yeah, it's got, like if it's been in sugar, yeah, it's very sweet. And when you look at it, you wouldn't take it for horse meat. Honest, you wouldn't take it for horse meat.
What do they do? You know when
now you'd say, oh, that looks like a nice bit of steak. You know. But
can you buy horse meat legitimately in this country? I know there was the whole thing about the horse meat scandal. Can I go into my Waitrose and buy a bit of horse meat?
I've never seen none, really, Iain.
Well, I've not seen it, but I've not been looking for it. Maybe you can.
In the wartime, you had to do your best you could to live. You used to have rabbits, hire cockerels, and live off that. Next door neighbour, Mr. Skinner, used to kill them and got them for us and give us a skin. And Mum used to make gloves out of them, put the fur at the back of the wooden glove.
Mr. Skinny?
Winter, yeah, the skin. Oh. Yeah, the fur used to be put on the back of the glove to keep your back of your hands warm.
OK, let's go through a list of animals. Would you eat... OK, so you would eat horse, yes?
Yes.
Rabbit?
Yes.
Dog?
I don't know. I used to see it hanging up.
Would you... If someone gave you a dog sandwich, would you eat it?
I don't know. If I didn't know it was the dog sandwich, I wouldn't know, would I? Unless you told me. I mean,
cat?
A pig's nice.
Pigs are nice, aren't they?
I've had a pig at my uncle's farm.
A pig?
Yeah,
a pig?
Seen them killed, ain't it?
Yeah, well, pig I don't think is that extra... You know bacon comes from pigs?
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, so it's not that extravagant an animal.
We used to go in the larder and cut a ham joint off and put it straight in the pan. You used to get a big...
Yes,
big
pigs. People eat pigs. What's he going on about pigs for? We eat pigs. How about cat?
I don't know, unless anybody tells you what it is.
Right, here's the deal, right? I invite you round, Joe. Joe,
yeah.
Would you like to come to my house for some supper tonight? We're having roast cat.
Well, if you didn't tell me, Iain, I wouldn't know.
No, I'm telling you. You're having roast cat at my house tonight.
Well,
do you still want to come? Oh.
I'll have a sample of it to see if I like it. If I didn't like it, I wouldn't have it.
But you would have a sample of it?
Yeah, I'd have a sample of it, because some of it is not bad as you think it is. It's the thinking that you've seen a cat or a dog. Unless you have a sample of it, you don't know if it's not good for you or what.
Would you have a snake?
Rabbit, you look at a rabbit, it's a lovely creature.
A snake?
But when you skin it and cook it,
a snake,
like our mum did with stuffing, it's beautiful.
A snake?
Snake? I think I would. Because they do in China, because on telly they skin it while it's alive, then they go and cook it and bring it out to you.
A human?
Yeah, there's like a couple who sit at the table.
You'd eat a human?
Aye. Well, if I was stranded if I was stranded in the desert and I got nothing else to eat, I think I would.
Wow.
I mean, I wouldn't, but it's surprising what you do if you're desperate. Isn't it?
Joe, Joe, I've got to move on. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much. Ta-ta.
Have a nice day.
Ta-ta, bye-bye. Don't go on a desert island with Joe. You may not come back. 03453 009956. What have you eaten? Where would you draw the line? I don't see a problem. What's the difference between eating a dog and a pig. There isn't. And also, if you saw someone kicking off in a shop or on the street, would you step in and have a go? I did in the week. Didn't go very well.
With full commentary of every Warwickshire cricket game this summer, exclusively online, bbc.co.uk/WM.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
BBC WM 95.6.
It's 10 o'clock. Let's get the latest news now with Nicole Pullman.
Israel and Hamas have begun a 12-hour truce in Gaza for humanitarian reasons. More than 800 Palestinians, mostly civilians, have been killed since the Israeli offensive began 19 days ago. 40 Israelis have lost their lives, mostly soldiers. Representatives from the US, several European countries and Qatar are holding talks in Paris about a longer-term ceasefire. Our correspondent in Jerusalem, Martin Patience, says that during today's pause in fighting, Israel will continue to search for tunnels dug by Hamas.
The Israeli military has also warned that if rockets are fired from Gaza into Israel, then it will respond. So this truce will be shaky. I think the big question here is whether or not this ceasefire will hold beyond the 12 hours.
And a protest march is taking place in Birmingham later against Israel's actions in the Gaza Strip. Kamal Haywash is chairman of the Midlands Palestinian Community Association.
They must come under international law. They must behave like a state that claims to be a Western-style democracy. And our governments here and in the rest of Europe, at least, and in the United States, must say to them, if you don't behave in a responsible manner, if you really don't want peace, then we will start to impose sanctions.
An investigation is underway into allegations that a man managed to evade security at Birmingham Airport to get onto an empty plane. A 22-year-old's been charged with entering a secure area and getting onto an aircraft without permission. He's due in court next month. It's believed he missed his own flight and in the early hours of the morning got onto a luggage conveyor belt and then onto the tarmac. Chris Yates is an independent aviation expert.
Quite clearly, there are an awful lot less people on duty in the wee small hours than there are during the course of the day. And that may well be one reason why he managed to succeed in doing what he did. But at the end of the day, it is an unforgivable lapse of the security procedure.
Rail passengers in parts of southern England and Wales are facing further travel problems after stormy weather caused major disruption yesterday. First Great Western has cancelled 10 of its services. There are also problems on services running from London Waterloo to Surrey and to Exeter. The weather very warm and sunny today, but there's a chance of 1 or 2 thundery showers in the afternoon. The top temperature today around 27 Celsius, 81 Fahrenheit. Cloudy this evening and tonight and feeling cooler than of late, with lows of 14 Celsius, 57 Fahrenheit. Tomorrow, sunshine and showers. Bit cooler, temperatures going no higher than 22 Celsius, 72 Fahrenheit. BBC WM 95.6 News. There's more online at bbc.co.uk/WM.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
You should take in other religions and treat them as you would want to be treated yourself.
We are even more intelligent. They treated me with the utmost respect.
Iain Lee, Saturdays
9 till 12.
BBC WM 95.6.
Good morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC WM 95.6. Thank you if you've chosen to listen to this instead of going outside and enjoying the weather. Oh, you didn't realise? Nuts, we just lost half our listeners. Never mind. The way this show works, you can call in about anything you fancy. You stand a very good chance of getting on. In the first hour, we asked, are fat people really happy being fat people? And are they fat because they're, well, thick? That's the opinion of one UKIP councillor. You can still give us a call on that. We're also continuing the conversation about what's the difference between eating dogs and pigs. There is no difference. And if anybody thinks there is, well, you're living in a kind of fantasy world, aren't you? Just because we've invited dogs, horrible creatures, into our homes to live with us, they're no different from pigs, they're no different from cows. If you say you wouldn't eat a dog, or you wouldn't eat a cat, or you wouldn't eat a horse, well, I think you're lying. You can give us a call on that. Coming up in the next hour, Well, we're talking about flying. Do you feel safe flying? Big story in the news today. You may have heard Nicole talking about a gentleman who managed to get onto an empty plane. Well, is security at airports good enough? And then following that, we'll be talking about phobias. So there's kind of a thread going through. But before all of that, would you get involved if you saw a situation in the street? 03453 00 9956.
Have your say.
Across the West Midlands, call
03453
00
9956.
BBC WM 95.6.
I was trying to park my car outside a little supermarket, 7:45 on Tuesday evening. And there was this fella, didn't like the way I was reversing my car out because there was no room to park and nowhere to turn out. So he started effing and jeffing at me. Indoor language was being used outdoors. He was swearing. Really loud. I think he may have been a bit drunk, I don't know. Really loud. Okay, and there were kids around, and these kids could hear it. So he just went and parked wherever he wanted to park, blocking loads of cars. I went and parked around the corner. And I went into the shop, and he was in the queue. Now, how to describe him without sounding snobbish? I can't. He was dead common. He was horrible. Shaved head, earrings, tattoos. And I steeled myself. To go and talk to him. Nasty piece of work he looked like. I went, "Oi, excuse me, fella." I was doing my plumber's voice. You've got a plumber's voice, haven't you? We all have a phone voice, which is very posh, and then we have a plumber's voice, which is, "Yeah, all right, mate, do you want a cup of tea? How long do you reckon it'll take?" "All right, yeah, nice." My real voice is somewhere in betwixt the two. But I put on my plumber's voice. I went, "Oi, mate, just watch your language. There were kids out there, they could hear you swearing. Just watch it." I felt like the big man. He turned round to me, looked me square in the eye. He said, "Not today, mate. I'm not in the mood. Go F yourself." Oh, dear. And he said it a little bit more aggressively than that, right? Now I'm getting scared, but I can't back down. It's not in my nature. I went, "Hey," and there were kids there as well when he was doing that. There were kids there. I went, "Oi, seriously, mate, there are kids. Watch your language." And with that, I did go and F myself. I walked off and I went and hid behind, by the milk aisle. Shaking. I was shaking. Went and hid by the milk aisle, I was shaking, and I was looking around the corner to make sure he'd gone before I went and paid for my items. Now, I was scared. Had I pushed it, it could have got nasty, because he was a nasty piece of work, but I'm glad I did it. I'm really glad I did it. Yes, it's given me a smug sense of self-worth, but I'm glad I got involved. Now, the question is to you, would you have done the same thing? Have you done the same thing? Or do you think I was sticking my nose in where 'tweren't wanted? 03453 00 9956. Have you ever got involved in a situation, in a supermarket, in the street, by a bus stop, where someone's been swearing or kicking a bus stop or dropping litter? That's the one I've not yet managed to do. I nearly did it the other day and I bottled it. Someone dropped something, and I was going to say, "Excuse me, you've dropped something," and I didn't. I bottled it. Have you ever done that? I really admire those people that can do that. I've seen people do it. I really admire them. That takes cojones, doesn't it? Doesn't it? Give me a call. Have you ever done it? Would you ever do it? Or do you think, "Oh, for goodness sakes, none of your business, mate, grow up"? 03453 00 9956. Jill's on the line. Morning, Jill.
Oh, hello, Ian.
Jill, I know you've not called in to talk about this, but would you ever go up to someone who was swearing in the street or dropping litter?
I've done it.
Have you done it?
Yeah.
What happened?
I was on a bus with my granddaughter, on public transport, on a bus, and there was a load of young youths at the back, and they were using the F word and talking about something that was really just over the top. People didn't want to hear.
No.
And I said, "Excuse me," and I did confront them. Anyway, in the end, the bus driver, because they still didn't take any notice, and I went to the bus driver, and he stopped the bus. Yeah?
Yeah.
And he asked them to get off. And they did get off. Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you know what happened?
Go on.
You won't believe this. When those abusive youths got off,
Well done.
some of the passengers that were still young lads said, use the same language.
Well, they started swearing as well?
Yeah, they ridiculed me.
Oh, no.
They ridiculed me, yes.
How did that make you feel as a person, Jill?
Well, I still did what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But they did. They ridiculed me, and I thought, oh, where are we going in this life?
Oh, Jill, I'm sorry to hear that, because it is quite intimidating to step up and speak your mind to particularly a group of young people. But well done.
I had my granddaughter with me, and I didn't want to let her hear all this that was going on.
Yeah. Good. Well, good for you. Listen, if I'm with my boys, I have got no qualms about stepping in and telling people to watch their language. I was... get this, right? I was at a bus stop in North London. I remember this about 3 years ago. It was 2 years ago. I had my eldest son. He was 2 years old. There was a bloke at the bus stop, Jill. He was smoking, what can I call it? A drug cigarette.
Yes.
He was smoking a drug cigarette.
Yes.
And I can't tell you how I recognise the scent, but I used to go to college. Anyway, I said to him, excuse me, mate, you can't smoke that near my boys. Get rid of that, please. And he kind of he shuffled off down the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, smoking a bit of weed.
Yeah.
Cheeky spliff.
What did he say?
He sort of gave me a stoned look and shuffled off down the street a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, Jill, listen, you've not called in about that. Would you eat a dog?
This is very difficult now.
Go on.
Because I've got a dog, and I am a dog lover.
Delicious.
I am a dog lover.
What's your dog called? Remind me.
Pardon?
What's your dog called?
Well, the little girl we've got now is called Poppy, but before that we had a male dog called Charlie for 13 years. The same breed as Schnauzer, miniature Schnauzer.
Yeah.
Now, honestly, it's offensive to me to eat horse or cat or dog. It's just because of the relationship you've got with them as a friend.
Yeah.
But if I was that hungry, and I think everybody else would say the same, if you were hungry and there was no food about, it's a matter of survival, and you would eat it.
Could you kill Poppy and eat her?
If I was hungry enough, we'd have to, wouldn't we?
How would you kill her?
My husband would do it.
What would he do?
I don't know, because he's not here at the moment.
Strangle it?
And if we've got no weapons, I think he'd... if we've got no weapons, I don't know what he'd do, really. This sounds awful, and it's not what I want Poppy to have, but I think you'd either... If you were on the blinking desert island, or we were in war, and you'd got no...
Yes.
You'd probably hit her on the head very briskly and sharp with a big rock.
Yeah.
Or he'd slit her throat, I think. This sounds awful.
It does sound terrible.
But he would do it. He would do it.
Can Poppy hear us?
Pardon?
Can Poppy hear us now?
Oh, well, I don't think she'll understand, thank God. She's looking at me, she's hot, so she's very, very hot, and she's sleeping on the chair.
Is she looking at you now?
She's got her eyes closed.
Oh, God, and you're talking about bashing her head in with a rock if you haven't got any weapons?
Yeah, well, I think, honestly, if you're in that position where there's nothing at all to eat, you would save yourself before your pet.
Yep. I think you're absolutely right. I think you're absolutely right. So Poppy's quite small, though, but probably quite sweet, tender meat.
I don't know. I've never ate a dog, but if you're hungry enough, you'd eat anything. You'd eat snake, you'd eat anything, wouldn't you, if you were hungry enough to survive?
I think you would, Jill. Thank you. That's certainly the call of the day. That's the call of the day. If they didn't have any weapons, they'd probably stove Poppy's head in with a rock or slit her throat. This is BBC WM 95.6. Roger's on the line next. Morning, Roger.
Hiya, Ian.
Jill really went into more detail than I was expecting there.
I don't think I could stove my dog's head in whatever the situation.
Even if you were starving, Roger?
Even if I was starving. So I'll tell you something then.
Go on.
Some of us want to get rich out of livestock, and some of us are not that bothered.
Yeah.
Years ago, a person was advertising for rabbits, and so I'd got a few about that I didn't want particularly. I've bred for for show for about 50 years now. But anyway, he advertised. I went and seen him. I said, what, you in the meat breeding job then? He says, no. He says, I want them for the laboratories. And if I'd took that contract, I'd have been a rich man now. But I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it.
Why?
Why? Because I couldn't. I've killed livestock, but I couldn't. I wouldn't make an animal suffer. When you see, people don't understand, like you said previously, the kids don't understand about meat or anything. But the thing about it is, it's not happening. But I believe every living being should have a good life and a good death. And you know it's not happening, but it should be, because why are we superior that we should inflict pain on another animal? I don't believe it. Anyway,
I am changing my thoughts on this, Roger, because now I'm not a vegetarian anymore, and I was kind of, all up. I don't know if it's for the futuring. The futuring, that's not a word, but if it's, for scientific research, is there some argument for that if we're finding cures for diseases?
Well, there's been arguments about that for donkey's years, but they say now that they can get to the point they need to get to without using livestock, and I mean some of those animals have suffered, and I mean the thing about it is, I was watching a programme on BBC4 this week from 9 to 10:30 about the state of the planet as a whole.
You got 20 seconds, because I just realised I'm really late for travel, Roger. Sorry.
And anyway, the thing about it is, as regards fat people, the fats we have today, talking about pigs and what have you, I went to my butcher, I said, can you get a decent bit of lard? He says, you can't get lard as you used to get it. That's just one example. The thing about it is, we're not farming traditionally. We're not eating traditionally.
Roger, I've got to move on. Thank you very much. Things have certainly changed. Oh, we're a little bit late. I do apologise. It's 10:17. Let's get the travel news now. Here's Liz.
Ian, thank you. The M5 going south is struggling in the roadworks 4A to 6, the M42 through to the Worcester turn. Now, there were two broken down vehicles earlier on. They have all been cleared out of the way, but we are getting reports that maybe yet another broken down vehicle in the backlog, so sort of 4A to 5 kind of area. We haven't had this confirmed yet. It's just early reports, but certainly a long old queue in those roadworks this morning. The M6 going north, the entry slip road is still partially blocked to that abnormal load which broke down at junction 10 earlier on at the Wolverhampton and Walsall turn. You can squeeze by without too much of an issue. Further back at junction 7, that broken down vehicle has been moved out of the way by the Great Bar turn at the A34. The M42 is quite heavy going from junction 1 at Bromsgrove, trying to get onto the M5, obviously not helped by the problems on the M5. Very heavy going around Moseley, as Farmers Market going on there. The A435 Salisbury Road. It's still a bit busy and slow as you head into Birmingham, particularly around Five Ways Island this morning. And of course, a reminder that Queensway tunnels remain shut throughout the summer, so you will have to follow diversion routes. You are advised to use the middle way, the A4540, the Ring Road, to find other routes into the city centre. If you can update us, 08453 002288.
I tell you what, my gaffer may be listening to this. The voice of the West Midlands.
Yeah, this is Danny Kelly, the West Midland voice, the West Midland.
Danny Kelly.
Monday to Friday, 2 till 4. The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
BBC WM
95.6.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC WM 95.6. If you want to give me a call, 03453 009956 is the telephone number. I'm still recovering a little bit from Jill's call. Excuse me. Jill's call. She really went into great detail, and I feel sorry for poor Poppy. If they had no weapons and they had to eat Poppy, her husband would stove the dog's head in or slit its throat. And you would, wouldn't you? I've got my cat Velvet. I love her. She's been with me for 13 years. If I was really, really hungry, if I was stuck on a desert island, goodness knows why I'd be on a desert island with Velvet. I don't know. But if I was stuck on a desert island and I was going to die, I would eat her, wouldn't I? What's the difference between eating cat and pig? There is none. 03453 009956 is the phone number. Also asking about would you confront people in the street? I confronted some horrible common bloke in a supermarket because he was swearing. I said, oi, mate, watch it, there are kids here. He had a go at me. Of course, what was I expecting? Mo's in Tamworth. Morning, Mo.
Excuse me. Good morning, Iain.
That's it. Give it a good cough. Clear your throat.
Yeah.
Yes. What have you got for us, Mo?
What I've got is confronting people.
Yep.
I've done it that many times, Iain. I consider myself quite good at it.
Oh, really? What do you get involved in?
Not good, but just confidence. Because if you do it in the right way, you get results. And my most recent situation was walking through a churchyard at 9:30 in the morning, not coming from church, I might add, coming from the library, and walking up a path, another path diagonal from it, maybe, 20 metres or so away from me, was a young couple. I could see they were having an argument or a row, couldn't make out. And suddenly, she wanted to walk away. He grabbed her arm, and I could see he grabbed it very tightly, and he wasn't going to let her go. He wasn't going to let her walk away. And she was asking him to, and she was almost crying, asking him to let her go. And I just yelled to him, let her go. And he ignored me. He just turned round, gave me a look, and just as though I wasn't important, and carried on. So I said it again about 6 times, each time louder than the time before, now drawing attention to the situation, and added, now, let her go now, on the end of it. And on the 6th time, he did let her go. And she took some distance from him. He was saying something to her. Then she walked away, and I stayed with the situation. He followed her, so I followed them. And I know my area, so I know where they were walking to. And I made sure he knew. She didn't know, but he turned around. He knew I was following. And when she got to the bottom of the steps at the back of the church, she went one way, and he just stood there watching her, turned round and told me the situation was none of my business. And I said, I actually disagree. I think it is my business. You had no right to be doing what you were doing, so... And with
Here's
that,
the thing.
the other way.
Here's the thing I've learnt, Mo, because this has happened to me, and I know it's happened to lots of other people. And I'm surprised you got away with this. Maybe it's different because you're a woman. I have seen a bloke and his girlfriend having a brawl in the street, a really aggressive argument where he's kind of grabbed her, and it looks like it's going to turn physical, and they're swearing at each other in the street, right? And she's obviously in distress and doesn't want to be there. I have stepped into that situation and said, all right, mate, calm down, let her go. Do you know what happened?
No.
They both turned on me. The bloke and the girl both turned on me. This is none of your flipping business. Get the flip out of here. What are you flipping? Obviously, they didn't say flipping. That would have been rather charming and delightful. But they both kind of looked like they were going to wallop me.
Yeah,
and I've heard that from other people as well.
But if you'd have walked away and done nothing, it probably would have played on your mind that you should have done. So it didn't turn out well for you, but well done for doing it anyway.
Would you have a go at someone if they drop litter in the street?
Yes, I have done.
God, Mo, you're a right little vigilante, you are.
Yeah, but I do it in a very polite and nice way. I don't want to annoy people. I don't want to make them angry at me. I just say, you shouldn't be dropping that there. There's either a bin there, or you could put it in your bag or put it in your pocket, or just not do it. But my worst one, Iain, is bad treatment of children, which I've seen a few times over the years. And if anybody's listening now and they wouldn't know what to do, I'll tell you what, all you have to do is nothing. Just stand there and stare. And
this is like when you see a mum with a 3 or 4-year-old who's screaming in the supermarket and they're dragging them, shouting at them, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
But if you let them know, you just stand and stare at them. But I'm talking more of an adult being spiteful to a child, screaming at the child, frightening the child. It's probably the parents. And they're wrong to be doing that. So I just stand and stare at them. And Iain, it works.
Mo, listen, thank you for that. Thank you for that little tip. 03453 009956. That does kind of take this to the next level. What would you intervene in a situation in the street? Would you intervene if you saw a parent being aggressive with a child in a shop? Another little story. Monica, stay there. I'll come to you in 1 second. Indulge me if you will. We went to... is it Whipsnade? Not Whipsnade. Woburn Safari Park, a few weeks ago. And we had the monkeys jumping on the car and all of that stuff. It was great fun. And there was a playground, okay, with a slide. And there was a girl, I'm going to say was 6. She looked like she had a sprained wrist. She had her left arm in a sling. She climbed up the climbing frame. It's quite easy. There were steps climbing, and there was a slide coming down, and she didn't want to come down the slide. She got really, really upset. Really upset. Was crying, screaming, I don't want to come down, I don't want to come down. Two parents were there, a bloke and a woman. Bloke was trying to encourage her down. The woman was going, get down that slide. And the woman grabbed her by the arm that was in the sling and pulled her down the slide. And then she picked up the girl, climbed up the slide, climbed up the climbing frame, and pushed her down again. And this girl was in a terrible state. And me and my wife were sat there going, this is really uncomfortable. Should we do something? And I was steeling myself. to get up and go and say something. And then this woman was shouting at this girl, and I was steeling myself. I was going, right, 5 deep breaths, and then I'm going to get up and do something. And then they went away. The problem was no longer mine. Should I have got involved then? Probably. 03453 009956. Monica's in Yardley. Morning, Monica.
Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Should I have got involved in that situation with that little girl?
I think so. If I seen anybody little or old or whatever being beaten up, no matter how many were doing it or roughing that girl up, I think you have to.
The thing is, in that situation, what I'm saying to that mum is, I'm a better parent than you, and no one likes to hear that. No one can stand being told they are a bad parent, and that's what I would have been saying.
Roger, the thing is, it makes you wonder how she got her arm in the sling in the first place, doesn't it? That's really worrying.
There is that, I suppose.
Yeah, poor thing.
But what about swearing in the street?
Well, unfortunately, I did on the occasion that I've rang you up about. I can't tell you what the words were, but I don't normally say words like that, and not at the top of my voice. But I'm a little woman, and I am still going through the menopause. Started off a very, very nice, placid, nice day, and I was trying to park. I'm not a bad driver. I was parking in a supermarket space. I got a big BMW at the time, and I'm 5 foot. This lady beckoned me to carry on very nicely. I said thank you. So I started to reverse into the spot. It's not taking me very long to do. And within a split second, I've caught a flash of red from my left-hand side. And when I looked, there was a little man in a little red van. And when I looked at him, he was mouthing, "Hurry up."
Oh.
And all of a sudden, from being a very placid lady, I've just seen red and said to him, mouth back, "What did you say?"
Oh, no.
And he said again, "I said, hurry up." So I decided that he wasn't going to get out very quickly, and I went to drive forward to block his path. Well, he must have seen my face, and he went up the blinking footpath and went down the driveway 100 miles an hour. And I'm sorry, I got out and I shouted a couple of words at him, which was really quite bad, and then got back in the car, reversed into my spot, said to the lady, "I'm very sorry about the language and thank you for waiting." And we were both very calm again, and that was it. But this chap, my face must have frightened the life out of him. I'm 5 foot. That's all I'm 5 foot high. And I felt no fear. And if I could have got out in time, I would have dragged him through the window.
Monica, you sound like a pussycat.
I am, but I'm not a bad driver. I've been driving for years and years. And he was so rude that it really got my back up. And like you, not like you, you said you went and hid in the supermarket.
Yeah, I did. I'm a coward. I'm a coward.
No, well, I would have stood there and given him come on then, come back, come and face me, you little Wurzel, you.
Oh, my gosh. Monica, you're... right, here's the thing. What colour was your car?
It was silver, and I've got a different car now, but it's the same colour, so...
OK, just be careful, ladies and gentlemen. If you're in Yardley, you see a tiny woman driving a silver car, just let her go at her own pace.
No fear.
Monica, nice to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. It's an interesting one, and the debate about, should you get involved with a parent and a child is one that pops up every now and then. But the fact... Well, the reason we're talking about it is because, I confronted this guy about swearing in the shop on Tuesday, and it reminded me of a thing that happened at Woburn Safari Park about a month ago, maybe, with this little girl. Would you get involved in a situation? Have you got involved in a situation? And am I being a bit prudish? Right. Listen, I love a good swear-up. That's not an invitation to call in and swear, right? I love a good swear-up. I think a well-timed F-bomb, I think it can add... It can be hilarious. I think it can add weight to a story. I think it can add it can add colour to a story. If David Cameron, or if Ed Miliband, who is struggling to get any kind of popularity, stood up at PMQs one day and said to David Cameron, Mr. Prime Minister, I think you're a flipping idiot, he would get so much respect because that's how people talk. So a good timed swear, I think, is great. I just am very particular about it in public and about it in front of kids. Now, is that all right? Is that sensible, or am I being a little bit prudish? Is it because now I'm a 41-year-old man who's got kids? 03453 009956.
The Commonwealth Games 2014 have begun, and this afternoon from 2, join BBC WM 95.6 live from Glasgow as we talk to the West Midlands athletes aiming for Commonwealth gold.
BBC WM 95.6.
Here's a story. Who does the housework in your home? Is it... We like to think, don't we, that we share these things now because, hey, it's 2014. I'm a metrosexual kind of new kind of guy, and we all like to think that we share the roles. But if you're honest, if you think about it, we do tend to, even in the 21st century, fall into gender-specific roles. I know we do in my house. I think I've done a great thing if I empty the dishwasher. 03453 009956. There's an interesting story here. A husband from Dorset has won High Court damages of more than £600,000 for the loss of services provided by his extremely house-proud wife. Now, there's a sad element to this. Sally Nower died aged 46 in 2009 as a result of exposure to asbestos at Guy's Marsh Prison in Shaftesbury, where she was employed as an administrator. The Ministry of Justice admitted liability but contested the figure. After hearing evidence, the judge awarded Iain Nower, the widower, £647,000, 840. It's interesting the reason he was given it. Now, obviously he was given it as compensation because she died of asbestos, but the reasons were loss of services. The bulk of the damages are for loss of services of his wife, with the 50-year-old gentleman given £88,000 for past services dependency and £329,000 for future services dependency. If you go and look at the news story, the judge said the division of labour between the two was as it might have been in the 50s. Mrs. Nower managed the household. She cleaned, cooked, changed the beds, laundered and ironed clothes, did the shopping and walked the dogs. She decorated the house and tended the garden. The judge said Mr. Nower did the occasional tasks such as bathroom repairs but did little more than that. He's been awarded the money because she did all the work around the house. 03453 009956. Well, Kim Woodburn is one of the stars of How Clean Is Your House. Morning, Kim.
Good morning.
What do you think when you hear this story?
I am, well, to use the expression, I'm gobsmacked, dear.
Gosh.
I mean, the whole thing is this. The poor, sad lady died of asbestosis, which, God love her, and I'm so sad about that. So young and so horrible for this to happen. What is he thinking about? If he had gone into bad health and broken heart and really gone into massive depressions, where he's unable to work, and she did die of that shocking disease, which was caused by the Ministry of Justice, who don't deny it actually that she's got the asbestosis from there. So there must be. But what they're giving him the money for, he sounds. I'm sorry, in all your grief, you sound a horrible, money-grabbing man. You're an absolute disgrace. You don't describe your wife as a housefrau, dear. You say, I love her very much. I miss her terribly. My 3 children miss her terribly. And, you know, we just, oh dear, when I think she got that disease because I can understand that. But my God, Lovey, he had her like a slave. If he truly loved that lady, what man, he's only young, he's a business development manager, if he can get off his backside to try and do it, to watch your wife, 3 children, to do all the cleaning, the cooking, change the bed, laundry, iron clothes, do the gardening, decorate the house, and he occasionally might repair a washer in the bathroom. Do you know, he's an absolute disgrace, and how these judges, what this judge is thinking about is beyond my comprehension.
Now, Kim, let me just say, because Mr. Nauer isn't here to defend himself, but and I'm sure he would say that, of course, he loved his wife and he misses her terribly. Is it not true, though, Kim, that some women enjoy doing the housework? Some women enjoy the ironing. They enjoy sweeping up and cleaning the dishes and scraping the muck off the bath.
Oh, I agree with that. But I think that as a man... Yes, agreed. I mean, I love my housework. But as a man, do you think he should have said to his wife, as a man that's loved his wife, you are not doing the gardening. You do the ladies' chores. I am going to decorate. Come on, you do enough. But he sat back, he's only 54 now, and he allowed that woman to do that. Do you know what? I do all my housework. My husband helps occasionally, but then I love housework. There is no way I do my gardening. There is no way I decorate my walls. My God, my husband would say to me, oh, come along. What was he thinking of, allowing his wife to work herself nearly to death, bless her? And don't forget this, my love, she was working. She was going out to work until 2007. From 1997, my love, she was working full-time as an administrator. You know, Lovey, in Guy's Marsh Prison, Lovey, what is going on? There comes a time, you know, she was 46, but nevertheless, she must have got extremely tired. It's one thing for her to do the house, but maybe she said, you're not touching the house, I'm the woman. There are women like that. I'm a bit like that with my hubby.
Maybe that is the case. Maybe she insisted. Maybe she said, look, you sit there, I'm enjoying this. This is kind of taking me into a zen state. I'm feeling alive, I'm feeling human, I'm contributing. You sit there, my darling, and I'll make you a cup of tea as well. Maybe she insisted.
No. Lovey, I don't think any woman insisted that they do the gardening. They paint the walls, they wallpaper. I think this has been a very... I'm sorry, Mr. Nauer, but you must have been a very lazy man. You even say here, you admit, you occasionally do little bits in the bathroom. I'm sorry, but any man that's in love with his missus, seeing her go out to work, do everything in the house, look after the 3... Lovey, there's something wrong. There's something terribly wrong with this situation.
We all like to think... I like to think I'm I'm a kind of, fun guy. I'm a metrosexual. I like to think that I share the chores at home. But if I'm really honest, Kim, I don't. And my wife does do most of it, and she looks after the 2 kids primarily. We do tend to fall, don't we, into these stereotypical gender roles.
But does your wife go out to work?
A couple of times a week, yes.
Well...
you've gone off me now, haven't you?
Well, does your wife ever moan at you and say, couldn't you have done that while I was out? Does she never say to you, oh, couldn't you have done that?
No, I don't think she does, no.
She doesn't, well, all right. Would she do the gardening?
Yes, she does.
Oh, God.
She does like mowing the lawn. She mowed the lawn the other day.
And does she decorate the walls, dear, and go up on the roof and do the tiles on the roof? Does she do things like that?
She does decorate a little bit. We've got a man to come round and do the roof.
Dear God.
Oh, you've gone right off me, haven't you?
Well, let me tell you this.
Not lovey anymore.
Oh, no. Listen, my love. I just think this man, to claim that he can't cook and he's had to pay for services to cook and, well, he's lucky he's got the money, dear, isn't he?
Yes.
I mean, if he can afford for someone to come in and cook for him and clean for him, why does he need this money, my love?
Kim, it's an absolute pleasure to talk to you this morning. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Do you know, honestly... Well, whatever I've said, I mean, I'm not taking anything back. Goodbye.
Bye-bye, Kim. Did that end awkwardly, or was that... I wasn't ending... I was ending it for time purposes. That's Kim Woodburn, star of How Clean Is Your House? And a legend. Can we... Producer Joe's not here today. She's bunking off. Simon, can we just send an email to Kim to make sure that she was OK? I wasn't having a go. I think we fell out then. Gosh. 03453 00 9956 is the telephone number. If please do, Bernie, thank you. Just let her know that I was moving on simply for time purposes, not for any slight taken or perceived at all. I thoroughly enjoyed talking to her. 03453 00 9956 is the phone number. Who does the work in your house? If we're honest about it, it's primarily the women, isn't it? Isn't it? Really? And I've said this before, I'll say it again. Women enjoy doing the housework. Women enjoy doing the housework. It's a genetic thing. It's nature, nurture. I don't know. But the majority, there will be exceptions, of course. There will be exceptions who don't like it. But the majority do. So this gentleman, Mr. Nauer, I mean, just in his defence, of course, I'm sure that Iain Nauer is devastated to have lost his wife, and perhaps this case that was put forward maybe came more from his legal team than him. So I wouldn't want to suggest that he's not in any way feeling upset by the loss of his wife. But we fall into these gender-specific roles, don't we? Don't we? And there must be a reason for that. Part of me thinks it's genetic more than upbringing. I could be wrong on that. 03453 00 9956. We're also taking your calls about swearing in the street, getting involved in incidents in the street, eating dogs and fat people. We've got some texts and some emails. 81333, start your text WM. Jackie in Wolverhampton has texted him. Being fat is not a crime. I've been fat all my life. Weight has varied through dieting, but 14 years ago I had an operation because of not being stitched up properly. I had a hernia. Was told to lose weight. After 3 years, had to operate as the hernia strangulator. Oh, my goodness. Since then, I've been through constant pain and cannot move too much, thus gaining weight. I do not overeat. My cholesterol is good, heart good, blood pressure low. The way everyone is carrying about children will cause more problems in long term with anorexia and bulimia because they will think they are freaks. Who has any right to tell anyone what else they should look like? If we were all the same, the world would be a boring place. I've not been shouted at in the streets, but programmes like yours could cause that kind of thing to happen. Well, I'm sorry you think like that, Jackie. I'm not quite sure. If you could call in, that would be great. 03453 00 9956. Which part of the show do you think could cause you to receive abuse? You've used the word fat yourself. So I'm assuming you don't have a... This is why phone calls are better, because we can go back and forth on this. I'm having to make stuff up here. You've used the word fat yourself, so I'm assuming that the word fat isn't a problem with you. I've stated specifically that I'm not saying I think fat people are ugly and disgusting at all. I'm not saying that in the slightest. If that's come across, I've apologised. I do think it's shameful when we have fat kids. When you see 4, 5, 6-year-olds that are fat. I think that's shameful. Not shameful on the child, they're not old enough to know better. On the parents. On the parents for allowing their children to get like that. That's kind of abuse, isn't it? In the same way that not feeding your child too much is abuse, overfeeding your child is abuse. So I do think, and of course you have to tread carefully because you don't want to encourage anorexia or bulimia, but I do think that if there are fat kids, 4, 5, 6, you've got to stop that, haven't you? You've got to stop that. How do you stop it? I don't know. I'm just some bloke that works on the radio. I haven't got a clue. Got some emails as well. ian.lee@bbc.co.uk. By the way, I will read out the comments complaining about me. I'm not one of those that goes, oh, how dare you? How rude, block. I'll read them out. Again, I'd prefer it if you called in, so we can have discussion about it. Who is this? This is Polo. Joanne Dudley, who's CC'd it into my boss. Gulp. Gulp. Iain, so dogs, you say, are detestable little creatures. The only detestable little creature I heard so far is you. You are one arrogant wazzock. Patio, sunshine and classic FM, here I come. Another WM listener lost. Goodbye, Joanne Dudley. CC to your boss. OK, well, I'm glad you're still listening, which you will be. And Cliff in Tipton. Ian, you really are dredging the depths today. When you started the Saturday show, I thought, what a brilliant change from the usual middling stuff heard from WM. Now I'm not so sure. If you would eat anything with a face, then you could start with your boss. Isn't broadcasting supposed to be informative? Get your act together and discuss something sensible, says Cliff. Well, I think we are... Cliff, with the greatest of respect, which means I'm going to be disrespectful, our attitude towards fat people and fat children, I think that's quite an important point to be raised, isn't it? We're hearing that some people are feeling shame. Some people are being abused because of the way they look. So I think that is an important issue. And also swearing in front of kids. Do you not think that's important, Cliff? Maybe it isn't in your world. To me, it's very important. 03453 009956. This is BBC WM 95.6. Let's get the travel news now. Here's Liz Saul.
Hello, Ian. There's still a couple of problems on the motorways this morning. The M5 going south is queuing in the roadworks. It's queuing now all the way from the Frankley services, so before the roadworks, through to Junction 5 at Droitwich, the A38. Not helped by at least 3 breakdowns in the roadworks themselves this morning. Northbound isn't looking too bad. The M6 as you head north still partially blocked to the entry slip road, Junction 10. That abnormal load which broke down earlier this morning at Wolverhampton-Walsall turn. Traffic is getting by without too much of an issue, but obviously just be a bit careful. The M42 is heavy going around Junction 1 at Bromsgrove, trying to get onto the M5, obviously not helped by the delays on the M5 itself. The M40, we're getting reports of some sort of traffic problem around Junction 15 at Longbridge Island. Police are on the way to the scene. Heavy going in Moseley, there's the Farmers Market going on, but Ulster Road and Salisbury Road looking quite congested. It's not too bad approaching Five Ways Island at the moment in the centre of Birmingham. Of course, the closure of the Queensway tunnels is likely to add a bit of time onto your journey as you make your way around and follow the diversion. And in Dudley at the Burnttree traffic lights, you'll find queues, the A461, A4123. If you can update us, call BBC WM 95.6 Travel 08453 002288.
Glasgow, 2014.
Can he hold on? Can he be strong in the closing stages?
This could be close. This is going to be a blanket finish, I'm almost certain of it. He's come good on the biggest occasion of his life. How to crown a magnificent season. That is phenomenal. How much was he keeping in reserve for this final? That was real dominance.
The Commonwealth Games continue today, online, on TV and on BBC Radio.
81333, start your text WM. An anonymous texter. Put your names on. It's nice to know who you are. It's nice to know who's insulting me. You come across as an arrogant, rude idiot. You cut people off. Well, I have to. Otherwise, I'd be talking to one person for the whole show. What point today have I cut people off before they've managed to get their point across? I haven't. You talk down to people. Well, if they deserve it, yeah. You talk over people. That's because there's ever such a slight delay on my headphones here. That's a technical issue. And are the worst presenter on this station? Well, get this man off the radio. You upset people every week. Now, you say upset as though that's a bad thing. It would be so easy, anonymous texter, to come in and do a, hey, nice weather out there today, guys. Let's talk about your favourite cheese. What's your favourite cheese? Call me now. Be easy to do that. But would you feel anything? Would you feel anything if you were listening, if you were calling, if you were being... someone talked to you about this at work on Monday? Would you feel anything? I think the good radio, you feel stuff. And if you're feeling upset, that's something, isn't it? That's an emotion. I imagine there are some people feeling happier because of this show. I certainly hope so. Some people feeling enlightened. Some people feeling bored. Some people feeling tired. Some people feeling moved. It's good to have a show where you feel stuff. But thank you for your text. On the subject of housework, Luke's on the line. Morning, Luke.
How you doing, Lanky? You all right?
Oh dear, Luke. 1-0 to you, sir. Straight in there. Well done, thank you.
Oh, I thought I'd get it. We've met before. Do you remember speaking to me before when I was on my way to London with my son?
You're the fat fella.
I'm not fat. You met me in person.
Yeah, you're a big lad.
I'm 18 stone, but happy, yeah?
Did you manage to get to... It was your boy's birthday, wasn't it? Did you manage to get to London? Did you have a good day?
Yeah, you know what? It was all right, yeah. We had a good time. We didn't get to go on the London Eye, that was one thing, but we're going back down there in a couple of weeks. So, yeah.
Excellent. I'm good. I'm glad you had a nice day. What about this housework thing? What do you reckon?
You know what? To be fair, I only work part-time, and my girlfriend has a full-time job. So when I can, I like to look after the kids and do the general housework as well. Do the washing up, the vacuuming, the polishing. But for the last 3 weeks, I've been doing the gardening. Because it's manual labour. I feel like I'm going to do a better job of grafting when it comes. I don't want my missus to break a nail, if I'm honest.
But hang on a minute. You've already said that your missus works full time. You work part time. You help out when you can. Why aren't you doing all the housework?
Why am I doing all the housework?
Why aren't you doing all the housework?
Well, I like to talk. Well, I like to think we're doing it. I do the cooking and she does the washing up. I do the cooking, she does the washing up. When it comes, if I make the mess, obviously I don't know. She does full hours. She does 40 hours. I do 60. I work for an agency, so obviously I'm out at the house a lot more. And then it's better than watching TV all day. You feel like you've done something.
Who does the ironing?
What's that? Oh,
who does the ironing? She does the ironing.
She does. I can't iron shirts to save my life.
Who does the hoovering?
I do.
Who does the hoovering?
I do.
All the time?
On weekends.
And who does it in the week?
Well, she does.
Well, so... OK. Who cleans the scum off the bath?
I do. I've got my elbow grease.
OK. We do fall into these traditional rules, though, don't we?
Well, all of her friends think I'm amazing. You know what I mean? I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but she thinks I'm amazing. The fact that I can, that I like doing the cooking, and if I feel like I'm good at something, I'd like to take on that role. You know what I mean? But yeah, so when it comes to the cleaning and that, I like to think. I grew up with my grandma, you see, and she always said to me that I'd make you into a good husband for someone one day. So even when it comes to hand washing clothes with a mangle and a dolly tub, I know how to use that. And I'm 27, and I know what a mangle is. So.
Luke, very good. Thank you for your call. Good to know that you know what a mangle is in 2014, because, you're going to be using that all the time, sunshine. 03453 009956. Those who are worried, don't panic. We've spoken to Kim Woodburn, and she says she wasn't upset with me, but she wouldn't like to be married to me. And she called me a lazy beggar. I think she said beggar. So... that's okay. 03453 009956.
Iain Lee.
On BBC WM.
95.6. The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
Now, big story this morning. We've been hearing how investigations are underway to determine how a man was apparently able to skirt security and get on a plane at Birmingham Airport. It's thought the 22-year-old had missed his flight, got drunk, got onto a luggage conveyor belt, then walked across the airfield to board an aircraft. But this news follows a seemingly endless stream of plane-based horror stories recently. Joined by Di Whittingham, Air Commodore and Chief Executive of the UK Flight Safety Committee. Good morning, Di.
Good morning.
Now, obviously, there's been an arrest, and we can't talk specifically about this case. But I thought airports, particularly in the last few weeks, were the most secure places in the world.
They are very secure. I was listening to your last caller as well. And was observing that our friend who's breached security at Birmingham didn't manage to find himself in a mangle of his own.
Yes, exactly.
Because the area he went through contains some pretty heavy machinery, so he's a lucky man.
Because it's always the kind of the boyhood dream to get on the conveyor belt and go through it. But I would have thought with the extra security checks that have been introduced in terms of having to have your phones turned on and computers turned on, that everywhere in an airport would be heavily policed.
Not necessarily heavily policed, but heavily controlled, because there is a difference. And, if you step back to as far back as Lockerbie, I don't think anybody at that time would have thought that somebody would put a bomb on an airplane, and particularly not a bomb that they might be on themselves. The concept of the suicide terrorist was unknown back then. So security was stepped up in response to that. Then 9/11, and again the fact that passengers would hijack an airplane and then use that as a bomb again was unthinkable. Now we have to consider that, and now of course the security services are trying to cope with ever increasing sophistication when it comes to people trying to get a device of some description onto an airplane. So security gets continually tightened. There are better scanners, there are better processes, And I have no doubt that the airport will be looking at the circumstances of this and will be looking at their use of CCTV, their use of guard dogs, because those are in use on some airfields. There are all sorts of things that can be done. But I think in this instance, this man's been very lucky. I don't think he would have got very far. And, of course, there was one cleaner who did exactly the right thing in all these circumstances, which was to challenge and then call the police, which he did.
Today, I think, is one of the busiest days of the years for airports. Yeah. And it's been one of the worst 2-3 months for air disasters. Public confidence in aeroplanes at the moment, where do we think that is?
Well, it's very easy to scare the horses with a little cluster of events, which is what happened. In normal terms, it's actually been a very good year. Last year was even better, but the first half of this year there were no major accidents, bar the Malaysian one, and we still don't know whether that is a safety or security related issue. But if you're flying from Birmingham today or tomorrow or whenever, and you're flying with an airline that's good enough to operate in and out of there, then you are, to all intents and purposes, safer in the aeroplane than you are crossing the road outside the airport. We're talking about involvement in one fatal accident. I say involvement, not necessarily being killed yourself. 1 in every 2 million departures. That's an amazing record. And if you want to put that into other terms, to guarantee getting killed in an airplane accident, you have got to fly every day for in excess of 40,000 years.
Gosh, okay.
So
that does put it into perspective. And of course, the air is incredibly busy. I heard a fact last night that in America, at its peak, there can be 5,000 aeroplanes flying above the States.
Yeah, the States is a pretty big place, and so they won't necessarily be that close together. A lot of activity, and there are actually little animations you can see on the web that will show you what that looks like. The global air traffic picture. It's actually quite startling. There are a lot of aeroplanes up there. There are sophisticated air traffic control systems which keep them safe, and systems on the airplane which warn when other airplanes are getting too close. It's called traffic collision alerting system. That works very well. So mid-air collisions are extremely rare between all these airplanes.
So, after hearing this story about Birmingham Airport and the disasters we've had over the last few weeks, people shouldn't be nervous. Flying is still one of the safest ways to travel. Is that what you're saying, Di?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Excellent stuff, Di. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. That's Di Whittingham, Air Commodore and Chief Executive of the UK Flight Safety Committee. Are you nervous about flying now? With everything that's happened, you hear this story about this fella getting through security by going through the conveyor belt. You hear these aeroplane disasters. There have been 3 disasters recently, haven't there? There's been eastern Ukraine, there's been Algiers, and there's been another aeroplane as well that I don't think has made that much noise over here. I'm sure there was a third one, separate from the other Air Malaysian disaster. Does it make you nervous? The heightened security checks? Hey, listen, man, I don't mind. You check me as much as you need. You require me to be at the airport 4 hours before the plane takes off, if you want. As long as that doesn't, I don't get blown up on an airplane. I'm fine. You get me there the day before if I need to be. It's an inconvenience. That's it. You nervous about flying? 03453 009956. Yeah, there was the plane that disappeared over the desert in Africa. There was the obviously the Eastern Ukraine one, and there was MH17. There was another plane. I'm sure there was a fourth one if we're including both Malaysian planes. I'm sure there was. Do you know what? Have I dreamt this, dear listener? This is where I turn to you as a reporter. 03453 009956. So there was the Malaysian plane that went down over the sea. There was MH17. There was the plane that was going to Algiers that downed in the desert. There was another one, I'm sure. I'm sure there was. You'll know better than me. I know that some of you are better read than me when it comes to news stories. 03453 009956. You can call in about any of the other bits and pieces we've talked about. Eating dog, Fat people? Would you get involved if you saw an incident in the street? And coming up, an MP has said that we should look to astrology for help with health issues. Astrology for help with health issues? This Tory MP is, well, he's also a member of a science and technology committee. Really? Come on, guys, we know this, don't we? Astrology is a load of old guff.
The A38 St Chad's Queensway tunnels in Birmingham are now closed for 6 weeks. For suggested routes, click bbc.co.uk/WM.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
BBC WM 95.6.
It's 11 o'clock. Let's get the news now. Here's Nicole Pullman.
Israel and Hamas have begun a 12-hour truce in Gaza for humanitarian reasons. More than 800 Palestinians, mostly civilians, have been killed since the Israeli offensive began 19 days ago. 40 Israelis have lost their lives, mostly soldiers. Representatives from the US, several European countries and Qatar are holding talks in Paris about a longer-term ceasefire. Our correspondent in Jerusalem, Martin Patience, says during today's pause in fighting, Israel will continue to search for tunnels dug by Hamas.
The Israeli military has also warned that if rockets are fired from Gaza into Israel, then it will respond. So this truce will be shaky. I think the big question here is whether or not this ceasefire will hold beyond the 12 hours.
A protest march is taking place in Birmingham later against Israel's actions in the Gaza Strip. Kamal Hawash is chairman of the Midlands Palestinian Community Association.
They must come under international law. They must behave like a state that claims to be a Western-style democracy. And our governments here and in the rest of Europe, at least, and in the United States, must say to them, if you don't behave in a responsible manner, if you really don't want peace, then we will start to impose sanctions.
An investigation is underway into allegations that a man managed to evade security at Birmingham Airport to get onto an empty plane. A 22-year-old's been charged with entering a secure area and getting onto an aircraft without permission. He's due in court next month. It's believed he'd missed his own flight, and in the early hours of the morning, he's accused of getting onto a luggage conveyor belt and then onto the tarmac. Chris Yates is an independent aviation expert.
Quite clearly, there are an awful lot less people on duty in the wee small hours than there are during the course of the day. And that may well be one reason why he managed to succeed in doing what he did. But at the end of the day, it is an unforgivable lapse of the security procedure.
3 of our teams have friendly matches this afternoon. Wolves visit Crewe Alexandra, Birmingham City are at Kidderminster Harriers, while Walsall make the short journey to Leamington. All are 3 o'clock kickoffs for the football, and there will be regular updates here on BBC WM 95.6 throughout the afternoon with Adam Bridge, who'll be live in Glasgow. Aston Villa continue their tour of Texas with a game against Houston Dynamo tonight. Rail passengers in parts of southern England and Wales are facing further travel problems after stormy weather caused major disruption yesterday. First Great Western has cancelled 10 services. There are also problems on services running from London Waterloo to Surrey and Exeter. Very warm and sunny today, but there's a chance of 1 or 2 thundery showers this afternoon. The top temperature 27 Celsius, 81 Fahrenheit. BBC WM 95.6 News. There's more online at bbc.co.uk/WM.
The Voice. The Voice. The Voice. The Voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
You should take in other religions and treat them as you would want to be treated yourself.
We are even more intelligent. They treated me with the utmost respect.
Iain Lee, Saturdays
9 till 12.
BBC WM 95.6.
I'm eating some minstrels. I'm going through a minstrel thing at the moment. Go and treat yourself. They're better than you remember. But it's quite hard. It's quite hard to speak after you've eaten them. So I apologise. That was a bad judgment on my part. Morning. This is Iain Lee, BBC WM 95.6. Lots to talk about. What have we talked about so far? A little recap. Well, we've had a UKIP councillor saying that fat people are happy being fat. They're a bit lazy. They're a bit stupid, but they're happy being fat. Do you agree with that? Can you be fat and happy? We're also asking after I saw a horrible bloke effing and jeffing in front of a load of kids. I went over and said, "Oi, mate, steady on, young ears." Well, he told me to naff off in no uncertain terms. Have you got involved in a situation in the street where you've seen someone dropping some litter, having a fight, having an argument, or have you just walked past? How did that make you feel as a person? And come on, guys, eating dog. What's the difference between eating a dog and eating a cat and eating a pig? There is no difference. Oh, but the dog looks so cute. Oh, that little cat is so cute. Yeah, they're cute, but, I mean, cats can also be horrible. Dogs, as we all know, disgusting little creatures. And coming up, this is a great story. One Conservative MP has suggested that astrology has a role in medicine. Let me say that again. Astrology has a role in medicine. The made-up art of looking at planets can control your health. Oh, really? 03453 009956.
Have your say.
Across the West Midlands, call
03453 009956.
BBC WM 95.6.
And as you know, maybe you don't know because we're getting lots of new listeners all the time. It's an open door on this show. It's not one of those shows where we strictly adhere to the stuff that I'm throwing out. Hey, why do I know any better than you what's interesting? I've probably got a good idea, but maybe you've got something you think we should be talking about, you think is important, or you just want to say on the radio. As long as it's not a shout-out to someone or a big-up, then you can come on. I'm not Ken Bruce, so I won't be doing shout-outs or big-ups or birthday. Oh, the worst thing, could you say hello to my mum? It's her birthday today. No, why don't you go and say hello to her? Yeah? Why don't you go to your mum's house and say hello to her and happy birthday? Why should I do it? 03453 009956. Cliff's in Tipton. Morning, Cliff.
Good morning, Ian.
Good morning, Cliff.
I sent you an email. You read it out early on. But in your journalistic way, I think you twisted what I said.
I'm not a journalist, and I read it. The only bit I missed out was the bit where you mentioned my boss's name, because I didn't think that was appropriate, I alluded to my boss.
His name at all. Now, in your remarks,
I didn't twist it, Cliff. Cliff, I didn't twist it. I read it as it was. Do you want me to read it again?
No. Afterwards, in your remarks, you said that isn't swearing important, and how about fat people? I didn't send the email about that. I sent it about eating dogs. That's what
you didn't say that. Well, no, hang on. The implication of the email, Cliff, is...
The implication
let me read it.
was in your mind.
No, let me read it. Let's let the listeners decide. You can have your say on this, please. 03453 009956. This is from Cliff. You really are dredging the depths today. When you started the Saturday show, I thought what a brilliant change from the usual middling stuff heard from WM. But now I'm not so sure. You then mentioned my boss's name. If you would eat anything with a face, then you could start with him. Isn't broadcasting supposed to be informative? Get your act together and discuss something sensible. Well, the implication there, Cliff, and maybe you've heard it read back, maybe you'll understand now. The implication there is the whole show is not sensible and is not informative.
Well, when I said perhaps you should eat your boss, I think the implication there was I was talking about eating anything with a face.
That's the implication that you've picked up on that one story, but you are drudging... let me read all of the bits that imply you're criticising the whole show. And again, dear listener, if you want to come in and have your say, please do. You are dredging the depths. When you started the show, I thought it was a brilliant change. Now I'm not so sure. Isn't broadcasting supposed to be informative? Discuss something sensible. All of those are very general and don't... If you'd have written, the thing about eating dogs is rubbish, but the thing about fat people and swearing in the street is quite informative, that would have been made clearer.
Maybe so. I agree
clarity,
with you
Cliff.
about swearing.
Clarity.
I've corrected a few folks in my time, and I've known quite a few happy fat folks. I'm a little bit overweight. My cholesterol's fine. My pressure's 120 over 53. Everything's fine. I'm slightly overweight. Well, you know. And I think that to generalise as that UKIP, come on, says that fat folks are a burden on society. Well, I think UKIP is a burden on society because of what they keep saying about immigration.
Cliff, I appreciate your time. Listen, I'm going to move on. You'll probably read something into that. Just clarity. If you're going to criticise, then a little bit of clarity. I appreciate that. Thank you very much indeed. Now, here's a story. Here's a story, dear listener. A Conservative MP has spoken of his belief in astrology and his desire to incorporate it into medicine. Astrology and medicine. David Tredinnick said he'd spent 20 years studying astrology in healthcare and was convinced it could work. The MP for Bosworth, a member of the Health Committee and the Science and Technology Committee, said he was not afraid of ridicule or abuse. There is no logic in attacking something that has a proven track record, he told BBC News. Well, I'm joined now by Alison Lambert-Chester. Have I got your name right, Alison?
It's Alison Chester Lambert.
Oh, I do. I knew as I was saying it there was something wrong. Alison Chester Lambert, you're an astrologer. Thank you very much for joining me. Astrology's a bit of fun, isn't it? But to link it with health, that seems crazy, doesn't it?
Oh, dear. OK, well, let's just clear up some of the myths here. To start with, astrology is recognised as a science in India and China. Americans embrace it wholeheartedly. It is the English, actually, that are trailing behind. There is still an amount of ridicule in the UK for astrology. But what we need to recognise is this is a science, if you like. The practice of it is scientific. And it goes back 6,000 years.
What's the science?
Because we use astronomy to actually predict, to map out the planets at the moment of our birth. We use astronomy to do that. Astronomy is a science.
Astronomy is a science.
Also, yeah, and then these days there are different kinds of astrology. That's the first thing to say. But psychological astrology, which is the astrology I do, has blended psychology, Jungian psychology, with that map of the planets, astronomy, and come up with a really useful therapeutic tool for helping people with distress, various ailments, and really what David Tredinnick is saying is that it is a holistic remedy. It is a talking therapy. It is useful in the same way that psychology is and psychotherapy is.
But so how does... I can understand the talking therapies, I can understand the Jungian side, I can understand the talking therapies, but how does it matter where Mars is in relation to Uranus?
Einstein called this spooky action at a distance. We are, at this point, unaware of the correlation between the position of the planets and happenings and events in people's lives. We know that there is a correlation. We know that when Mars is there and Saturn is there, then the result of that down here on Earth, or the symbolism that corresponds with that, the synchronicity, is that X plus B happens. Now, the actual understanding of that, what Mars means and what Saturn means, goes back 6,000 years. The Babylonians laid down the rules and the laws of astrology, and they have been followed ever since. And by those who actually study the subject, because I've met loads of people who say it's a load of rubbish who've never studied it. I'm assuming you haven't studied it, and you're calling it a load of rubbish, which is fine. I've heard it before. But for those who have studied it, they do see the correlations. They do get the meanings. They do understand that when Saturn is next to Mars, then this is a particular outcome.
But you say it's a science. Where are the laboratory conditions experiments been? Why aren't scientists in this country going, hang on, guys, you've missed this. You've missed this obvious thing about the moon.
Science is not just about laboratory research. I think psychologists would consider their particular academic study a science.
I would consider psychology more of an art than a science.
Right.
Science for me
is... Fair enough.
No, science for me is you have a theory, you put it to the test, and you either prove or disprove it.
Yeah. You've got empirical study, but of course you've also got the more general kind of impression that you get using a qualitative rather than a quantitative science. I mean, there are qualitative studies. If you want actual science, I actually had a look through, and I found actually a study done in 1971 and 1972, which compares the number of patients seen in an emergency department in New York. It was the North Richmond Medical Center in New York. And it compares the people that they saw on the day of the full moon with the number of patients seen at other times of the month. And it was proven quite significantly and this is in a quantitative study, it was proven quite significantly that more patients were treated on the day of a full moon. And also, some police forces actually do put more officers on duty during a full moon.
Yeah, and you've reminded me of something. When I used to do a phone-in show late at night, through the night, you would get more, how can I put this delicately, fruitcakes phoning up on the night of a full moon. You kind of, half an hour in, I'd say to the producer, is it full moon tonight? And quite often it was.
Yeah, it is true that that the position of the moon and the sun do affect people's stress levels and mental health levels and depression levels. So you can get the moon and the sun together, which is a new moon, or the moon and the sun on opposite sides of planet Earth, a full moon, and you will get issues that are bubbling up for people anyway will go into a heightened emotional stress. I mean, what David's saying here is quite valid in as much as he's looking at the NHS and he's saying, look, if there were less stress, if people were less stressed, if they felt more comfortable with themselves, if they understood themselves and their relationships better, then we wouldn't have as many of the knock-on effects which the NHS then has to treat in terms of blood pressure, etc. Astrology, like psychotherapy, is a psycho-placebo support for the nuts and bolts of the NHS in terms of, drugs and surgery. A lot of people's difficulties and challenges can result in quite significant health effects further down the line, but they could have been resolved earlier by simply them understanding themselves and their functioning and their relationships better. It can give them more peace.
Alison, it's really nice to talk to you, and I'm sure you've been up against tougher people than me on this subject. I appreciate your time. That's Alison Chester-Lambert. She's an astrologer from the Midlands School of Astrology. She's also the author of the book The Future in the Stars. Over to you, dear listener. See, I do poo-poo this, but I have done phone-in shows, and it's true. On a full moon, you get loads of fruitcakes calling in. So, is there something in it? 03453 009956. It's BBC WM 95.6. Let's get the travel now. Here's Liz.
Thank you, Ian. The M5 going south, much heavier than usual between junctions 3 and 5. The A456 Halesowen exit through to the Droitwich turn. The A38, that's going into the roadworks. It's going to take you about half an hour to negotiate that stretch. A combination of the roadworks and breakdowns earlier on have left this stretch of the motorway very busy, but northbound's not looking too bad. Northbound at junction 10 on the M6 is now clear. That abnormal load which broke down earlier on this morning has finally been recovered from the Wolverhampton and Walsall exit. The M42 is still rather heavy going around junction 1 at Bromsgrove, trying to get onto the M5. The M40 is looking better around junction 15. Whatever it was that was causing a bit of a problem, police say has been sorted out. Still heavy going in Moseley on Ulster Road near to Salisbury Road. Not too bad currently in the centre of Birmingham, though of course expected to be rather congested because of the ongoing closure of the Queensway tunnels. We're getting reports of an accident at Lower Penn on Langley Road at the junction with Drive Fields. Police tell us they are on the way to the scene. If you can update us, 08453 002288.
This is the voice of Birmingham
and the Black Country. BBC WM
95.6.
Weekday mornings.
Big debate. Opinions to articulate.
I don't think it's the private schools that need to change, but it's the state schools.
Afternoons, fun and chat.
Place and tune.
To the fact.
Oh, I love you.
You take care. I love you so much.
Guests and personalities
from all of our communities.
You make me smile every day.
Oh, well, that's very kind of you.
I love your show. It's fantastic.
Give me a mark out of 10 then.
11.
If you love where you live,
it's you we should be talking with.
The voice.
The voice.
The voice. The voice.
The voice.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country. BBC WM 95.6.
Hey up, this is Iain Lee, BBC WM 95.6. Lots of ways to get in touch, and you are doing. It's very busy this morning. Thank you. It makes my job easier. I hope it makes for a better listening experience for you as well. We could fill the show with me and a load of experts. Easy to do. I prefer it, and I like to have a few experts in to kind of kick things off, but then I prefer to get your stories and your responses. So thank you for that. How do you get in touch? Well, you can email ian.lee@bbc.co.uk. You can text 81333, start your text WM, or the best way is to give me a call, 03453 009956. I'd love to hear from you in the last 40 minutes of the show if you buy into astrology. I don't quite understand how where Uranus is. Come on, guys. I don't quite understand what the position of Uranus has got to do with how I feel. Yeah? Mr. Tredinnick, he's a Conservative MP. He's also on the Health Committee and the Science and Technology Committee. Said that herbal remedies and healing, the laying on of hands, were now becoming accepted in parts of the NHS and now wanted to promote astrology. On Tuesday, Mr. Tredinnick told his fellow MPs in the House of Commons, quote, "I am absolutely convinced that those who look at the map of the sky for the day they were born and receive some professional guidance will find out a lot about themselves and it will make their lives easier." MPs laughed when he spoke of the ridicule and relentless attacks he'd faced, including a spoof Twitter account set up called Inside the Head of David Tredinnick. 03453 009956. Has astrology had an impact on your life, or is it, as I suspect, a load of old guff? Susan's on the line. Morning, Susan.
Good morning, Ian. You're getting in the neck this morning, aren't you?
I'm getting a little bit of flack today. I don't know what I'm doing any differently.
I think it's the subject of eating our beloved pets, because I have to admit I didn't find that enjoyable. In fact, I did find that a little bit. Well, I found it very tasteless.
Well, it depends if you put sauce on it or not.
Yeah, and whether you roast or grill it. No, I didn't like that subject, and I agree.
Why did you find it tasteless? It's interesting because it comes from a news story about how they have a massive problem with having to put down dogs in the States. It costs them a fortune, and then they've got all these dead dogs. And one reporter was suggesting, well, hang on, there are hungry people. We've got all of these dogs. Why don't we combine the two?
No, that's very distasteful, and I don't mean that as a pun. I am an animal lover, and I've got 3 beautiful little pooches of my own, and it doesn't matter how hungry I was, there is absolutely no way I would ever even think about eating them.
Are you a vegetarian?
No.
Oh.
I like a good steak, the same as a lot of people.
What's the difference between a cow and one of your dogs, apart from the fact it's got a name?
I haven't loved a cow and looked and nurtured and cared for a cow, so that cow, and I don't see that cow in a field, I don't see that cow running and playing, and that cow doesn't run up to me and love me with all its heart. I just see that cow as a piece of meat in a supermarket.
But if you did, I'm not. Okay, let's put your dogs to one side and maybe have them for dessert. What about another dog that had been farmed? There was a dog farm where they breed dogs just to eat. Would that make a difference?
No, it's not, and it isn't anything that I would ever contemplate. It is. I couldn't do that. I suppose some people could, but then you see, we've been brought up to love our cats and dogs. I do know in China, I think it's the chow, their tongue, the dog of the chow, tongue of a chow dog is a delicacy, and they've been brought up with that. There are certain religions that don't eat pork, don't eat beef, because they've been brought up to think that way. To us, who've been brought up to love our cats and dogs, in the main, of course, you're always going to get the exceptions to the rule. No way would we ever contemplate.
You're on a desert island, Susan. You're starving. Who do you love the most in the world?
It would have to be my husband and my 3 dogs.
Okay, so you're on a desert island. That's convenient. With your husband, who you love most in the world, and your 3 dogs. Your husband hasn't eaten for a month. He's very, very close to death. Somehow your dogs are fine. They're surviving. They're finding vermin. They're eating. They're doing all right. Your husband's going to die. What are your dogs called?
They're Chihuahuas.
Do they have names?
Yes.
And what are they?
There's Ruby, Millie, and Toby. Or Tobias.
Toby. Okay. So your husband is going to die unless he eats something, and he eats something soon. Are you telling me that you wouldn't go and get Millie and cook her?
No,
to save your husband?
No, because I wouldn't do it, and I'd be wasting my time if I did, because he's of the same frame of mind as I am. Am I on a tropical desert island?
Yeah, but there's no other source of food for you.
No fruit trees.
No fruit trees. No, they got blown down and.
I'd have to go into the sea and catch some fish then, wouldn't I?
There are no fish. The water is toxic.
Well, we'd be dead then, wouldn't we, if we'd landed in toxic water?
There was a pool of fresh water that you could drink that had no fish in it.
Well, no, I still wouldn't, Ian.
Listen, if I'm on an island with my two boys and my cat Velvet, who's been with me for 13 years, longer than my wife, and the boys were starving, I would have no problems in going around the corner, snapping her neck, skinning her, sticking a spike up her bum and putting her over the fire.
Oh, I could think of someone else that could do with a spike up their bum, Ian.
Ooh, Susan, you're teasing me.
I know. No, I didn't like the subject. I really didn't.
But you carried on listening and you knew that there'll be something else that you might like a little bit after.
Yes, because normally I think it's a fabulous show.
Just not today.
One subject this morning.
Susan, lovely to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Oh, she's made me laugh. She's never loved a cow. You've never loved until you've loved a cow. 03453 009956. I was being slightly flippant about Ruby, Millie and Toby there, but only slightly flippant. Only slightly flippant. The reason she couldn't eat a dog is because she has dogs and she loves dogs. But what if she had a pet cow? What if... I was a vegetarian, I'm not now. I toyed with the idea of going to an abattoir to see what happens, to see if I'm still comfortable eating meat after seeing what happens, after being realistic about where my food comes from, right? I suspect most people, if they went to an abattoir, would become vegetarian for a certain part of their lives, because it's probably horrific. How do we distance ourselves from the food, the meat that we're eating? How does that work? If I had to eat... Listen, I have had dogs in the past. I don't like them, but I have had dogs in the past. I could eat dog. I could eat a piece of dog steak. Would you get a steak? Or a dog sandwich? If I was in a country where cat was served... I don't know, is cat a delicacy anywhere? Probably Korea. If I was in a country where cat was served, I would try it now. If it had a face, I'm going to try it. I had duck recently, and my wife turned her nose up at it. What are you eating that for? It's a duck. I said, yeah, exactly, it's a duck. Why is this any different from a chicken? It's the same thing. 03453 009956. Can you understand Susan's point of view there? Bearing in mind, Susan has never loved a cow. Edgar's in Penn. Morning, Edgar.
Morning, Ian.
Have you ever eaten a dog?
No. I wouldn't even go on that subject, to be honest. It's repulsive.
You wouldn't eat a dog?
Pardon?
You wouldn't eat a dog?
No. As I say, I won't discuss on that subject because...
Why?
To me, that's repulsive. Because, of course, I mean, if you go back to the reality of a dog, what that dog is a domesticated animal, and of course, you know, if you go back to the nature, I mean, I'm a Bible man, okay?
That's news. Okay, yes.
So if you go back to the history of a dog, you know, the Bible tells you that when a man is backslidden, you're like a dog, it returns to its vomit and so forth, you know. So I don't really want to discuss that.
What about pigs? Pigs are disgusting animals, aren't they?
No. I mean, don't pull me down that road. I want to discuss
Come down this road a bit and then we can reverse and go down another road.
Okay.
Pigs are disgusting animals, aren't they?
No. Nothing is wrong with pigs. It's according to your culture. Now, we were not brought up in the Western society to eat dogs and cats and those animals, all right? So, of course, it is unclean, and the dogs are unclean.
Cats are very clean, apart from their tongues, because they clean their own bottoms, but cats are very clean.
No, from the human point of view, yes. Looking at them, the things they do, you might come to that decision.
What about rabbits?
Rabbits are all right if you want.
But hang on. Rabbits are domesticated. Rabbits live in people's homes.
Yes, but you see, rabbits are what you call, of course, domesticated animals. Yes, in terms of not having them let go in your back garden. I mean, back home where we come from, rabbits are catered for in pens where they have been cleaned, where they have been looked after, where they have been fed, not running around picking up all sorts of things. So those are the rabbits that we're talking about. Not these, that people
Horse.
have.
Would you eat a horse?
Yeah,
They're not domesticated.
I don't have any objection in terms, as somebody rightly said, if I was in an island where, of course, there was no food, and if it was put on a plate and I don't know what it is, so maybe I may do. I'm not saying I will not. I'm not saying I would. If the situation poses on me, it is so grave that there's no other way out, I may.
You've been stranded on a very fancy desert island if it's got plates, Edgar. But let's reverse out of this cul-de-sac now and let's drive off down the M6 of confronting people.
Yes. Right, okay. Well, yes. I have done quite a few of those things, Ian.
Going up to people in the street who are swearing or causing trouble?
Well, not even. I was walking the one day in a very hot day, I saw this guy was breaking into somewhere.
Oh.
All right, and I reprimanded him, and then he started to run, and I chased him for at least half a mile, and he jumped the wall. I jumped the wall. He jumped across the dual carriageway. I went across the dual carriageway, and I caught him some yards away. And of course, when I caught him, he had an anorak, and I got his two arms and I pulled the anorak down to the bottom of his hands and twisted it around and held him. And I saw this man coming, and I asked him to phone the police for me, and this guy did, because there was a phone box luckily right beside him. And of course, he phoned the police, and the police came, and the police took him out of my hand. And the police said to me, he says, "It's men like you we need in the force."
What?
All right, I used to go to Brighton every year.
What for?
On holidays.
Okay.
And, of course, every year I go to Brighton, and I seem to have the luck of catching thieves. I was...
I've got to say, today's show is quote-tastic. I've never loved a cow, and now from Edgar, every time I go to Brighton, I seem to have the luck of catching thieves.
Right. I was in a precinct. The flat I was in was over a precinct. And, of course, underneath the flat there was a jewelry shop. Yes. And this one day I was sitting in the flat, just relaxing, and I heard some glass shattering. So I got up and I looked over through the window, and I saw this guy breaking out the windows and taking out the jewelry, and I got my shoes and I fled downstairs. And I chased him and I called the police. And as I was chasing him, I told the police where I was walking, and I was behind him and he was running, and the police car came. And when they came and they saw me running after him, oh man, I've seen the police. They did an escort. It was absolutely fantastic. As he was about to cross the road, they drove the car alongside, and they just opened the back door of the car and they just flung him in the car.
Edgar, are you never scared that you're going to get a good kicking or someone's going to pull out a knife?
No. This is why things are so awkward in this country, because nobody seems to care. For me, Ian, if you're doing wrong, you should be confronted, and I don't think of any danger, because that's the last thing that would come into my mind, because whoever you are doing your wrongs to, that's another person, and I did that. That's me all over.
Edgar, thank you very much. Nice to talk to you, mate. Cheers. 03453 009956. I was slightly distracted in the last 10 seconds of that because a cup of coffee has made its way onto my desk. Thank you so much indeed for that. Would I get involved in a robbery like Edgar? Edgar sounds like some kind of vigilante superhero. Jumping over fence. What a great line. Every time I go to Brighton, I seem to have the luck of catching criminals. What this... Oh, today's show has just been full of so many great quotes. I love it. Thank you. 03453 009956. I would suggest Edgar's vigilanteism, that's perhaps a step too far, isn't it? I mean, we all... Let me rephrase that. All men, I think, have fantasies... Let me finish the sentence. About seeing an armed robbery taking place or seeing a mugging taking place and how we would intervene, rescue the attractive young woman that's being mugged or being held at gunpoint, knock the gun out of the guy's hand, turn it on him, maybe even shoot him in the knee. We all guys have those fantasies, don't we? Don't we? But I know in real life I would, I nearly swore then, I would be very, very scared. And I wouldn't be able to do that, and I would freak. But in situations where I've been attacked in the past, I've just stood there. Let me tell you the story very quickly. John, I'll be with you in a second. I went round to a friend's house late one night it was quite a few years ago, about 10 years ago, about 9 years ago. I was going to be staying at his house, and I went round. There was no answer from the door, and I'm knocking on the door, banging. Eventually, he comes down, and he's there with a fella. And I didn't take any notice that the fella he was with was holding a rounders bat. So I went, all right, Steve. And I ran upstairs to his flat. And we went in, and Steve comes in, and he looks a little bit pale. I said, all right, Steve, what are we going to... Bit FIFA? We're going to play on the PlayStation tonight? What's the deal? We're going to get some food in? And this fella walks in with his rounders bat, not a baseball bat. And I still didn't click what was going on. A few minutes into it, I realised this guy had come round to, for whatever reason, if not give Steve a kicking, at least give him a good warning. Steve was seeing someone he shouldn't have seen. And I was terrified. And this other fella is saying, well, we're just going to wait for my mate, Mark, to come round, who's got a gun. And I'm thinking, what? What? Now, at this point, there are two of us. One of him, he's only got a rounders bat. We could have taken him. I froze. I tell you what I did, actually. I had my phone in my pocket, right? And I thought I was being dead clever. I had my phone in my pocket, my hands in my pocket. And I dialed 999, right? And I'm going, Steve... remind us where we are. He's like, what? I said, remind us of the address that this gentleman's going to come round and display his gun. Oh, yes, it's number 27, Arndale Street, North London. OK. I'm thinking, right, let's wait for the sirens. An hour later, these fellas had come and gone and threatened us and you know, pushed us about a bit. I took my phone out of my pocket. I hadn't dialed 999. I dialed 666. I dialed the number of the beast. The beast was no use at that point. The point of the story is, it was a terrifying situation where, do you know what, we probably could have got the upper hand earlier on, and I didn't. I froze. And I think in those situations, you do, don't you? 03453 009956. John's on the line. Morning, John.
Good morning, hey.
What would you like to say, sir?
Well, there's quite a lot, really, but
go on.
Trying to keep up with the conversation. Basically, you had a caller earlier saying, or a texter earlier saying that the food thing wasn't an important conversation. I think it is. I think it's quite a pivotal, you know, there's a lot of people starving, blah, blah, blah. One thing I was going to say is there's a lot of scandal early on with horse meat, and how, because there's a lot of people who felt bad about eating horses, and I can understand why people might think like that.
Yeah.
One of the things that I kind of latched onto, because I mean I have eaten horse places, so I kind of don't mind so much about that. I was more concerned about they were saying they didn't know where the meat was coming from. They were concerned about racehorses, stuff like that, and then if they were racehorses, they might have steroids pumped into them, and that could make its way through the food chain. And one thing with the dog thing, which I was thinking about when I first heard about the story, the person was saying that there's a lot of stray dogs. Be any difference if we just took up those stray dogs, stuck them on a plate? I would say that, you know, dogs are carnivores, and there's, is it bioaccumulation or something like that, where if an animal eats like a rabbit, that rabbit eats something toxic. If a dog or a cat came along and ate a bunch of the rabbits, they'd eat a lot of toxins.
Yeah.
From all of those rabbits.
I think if you're going to eat dogs, they would need to be farmed, wouldn't they? The thing, going back to the horse meat scandal, the thing that, and this was before I ate meat, actually, so I wasn't affected. The thing that worried me most about the horse meat scandal was that people didn't know what they were eating. People thought they were eating beef, and they were eating horse. People thought they were eating lamb, and they were eating horse. And I think that was the big problem, is that just people, the food wasn't labelled correctly.
That obviously was a big issue, but I understood that at the time. Well, obviously, I didn't know if what I'd eaten what it might have been, but it was more for me the fact that it could have been something potentially quite hazardous.
John, if you're on a desert island, and I've got to move on because we're going to go to the Commonwealth Games in a second. If you're on a desert island and you're starving and you've got your pet dog or your pet cat there, would you be able to kill it and eat it?
If the pet dog was surviving better than I was, then I'd find out what it was eating and then follow it. But, use it as a resource that way.
Excellent stuff indeed. A very clever answer, you see. He'd find out what the dog was eating and then would go and eat some of that. I don't see the problem. What's the difference between a dog and a cow? 03453 00 9956.
Iain Lee.
On BBC WM.
95.6. The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
OK, well, Adam Bridge, I believe, is live at the Commonwealth Games. Morning, Adam.
Good morning, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Where exactly are you and what can you see?
Well, I can see a couple of Scottish gentlemen going past me on a tandem right now because I'm in the velodrome, at the Sir Chris Hoy velodrome, and you join us in the qualifying for the men's sprint B tandem, and it is two Scottish competitors. So it's going to get very noisy in a minute because they're about to start their final lap, and everyone around me will go absolutely mad.
There's a race. Oh, here we go. There's a race for tandems, is there?
There you go. And it's probably going to get louder as well. Just to say earlier on, the qualifying for the women's sprint, both of our girls, Jess Varnish and Danny Kahn, are through to the last day. Here they come.
Yeah, they're cheering the tandem, guys.
Ian, very fast. And there you go, they finished now.
Adam, I thought you were joking when you said a tandem. There's actually a race for a tandem bike.
There is a race for a tandem bike. It's where some of the para events have been incorporated with the standard Commonwealth Games programme for the first time. So what you have here is you have a pilot on the front and I think it's called a stoker at the back who does most of the legwork, it would appear. But the Scots have just done very well. They've qualified in second place in the para tandem for the finals a little bit later on.
What other events are happening today? I know you're on between 2 and 6 on BBC WM. What kind of stuff will you be talking about?
Lots going on today locally. Jodie Stimpson, of course, from Albury, who won gold the other day in the women's triathlon. She goes in the team triathlon with the Brownlee brothers and the bronze medalists from the women's event as well. They compete at 12:30 today and are odds-on favourites to bring home a second gold for Oldbury, which, in case you haven't heard, we've now renamed Goldbury. Continuing here on the track, Jess Varnish and Danny Kahn will go in the quarter-finals a little bit later on of the sprint. There's also judo medals up for grabs. But bad news this morning for a couple of our local netball players, and hopefully we'll be speaking to Kevin Francis, one of the dads, a little bit later. They lost 49-48 in the last minute against Australia this morning. And no one around here wants to eat their dog.
Well, yeah, that's a shame. Yeah, you mentioned that you're in the Chris Hoy velodrome. Is it true that he wasn't allowed in there the other day because no one recognised him?
No, this is true. The security guard stopped him and said, "I'm sorry, sir, you have no pass. You can't come in." At that point, I may have just pointed upwards and looked at the sign, which and they're everywhere. That's the Chris Hoy velodrome. But apparently the gentleman was very embarrassed and was told off by his mum for not recognising Sir Chris Hoy.
Adam, listen, it's not the greatest of line. I'll let you get back to that, and we look forward to listening to you between 2 and 6 on BBC WM 95.6. How cool is that? Cheers, boss. Thank you. Can I come in? You've not got security. It's the Chris Hoy velodrome. Yeah, I know. I'm Chris Hoy. I'm sorry, sir, you haven't got security. How brilliant is that? Isn't it? The Commonwealth Games is an odd one, isn't it? Because everyone's going, yeah, we've won loads of gold medals. Scotland's won loads of gold medals, but it's because it's the Commonwealth Games, isn't it? There's no China, there's no Russia, there's no America, there's none of the big guns. And I was just I was kind of pontificating in another life this week about, are the Commonwealth Games important? Love to get your thoughts on this. We've got 15 minutes, actually. I'll throw this out there if you want to give me a call as to whether you think the Commonwealth Games are important or significant or exciting. I feel that they're kind of trying to live on the coattails a little bit of the Olympics, aren't they? We all got so excited about the Olympics, and it's not the same thing by quite some considerable way, but we still have this excitement about sports. And I was kind of bitching about the Commonwealth Games, and Chris Akabusi, don't ask, it's a long story, but I ended up having not an argument with Chris Akabusi, because it's impossible. If you've ever met Mr. Akabusi, it's impossible to argue with him, because he's such a nice bloke, really nice bloke. And you want to hate him, you want to argue with him, but you can't. There's nothing to grab onto, because he's so nice. And he was trying to sell the Commonwealth Games to me. And he sort of did a half-decent job. But I still don't quite get... I won't be watching any of it. I got sucked into the Olympics a little bit. I even went down. What did I go and see? I saw the... what on earth did I see? The Paralympics. I saw the weightlifting. I went and saw the weightlifting. That was good. But the last 15 minutes of the show, listen, it's kind of an open house. Fat people, fat kids, swearing in the street, eating dogs, who does the housework in your house. And let's throw it in the mix, shall we? See if anybody bites. The Commonwealth Games, does it bear any relevance in your life? Is anybody getting excited about it? 03453 009956. It's 11:45. It's BBC WM 95.6. Let's get the travel news now. Here's Liz.
Thank you very much, Iain. The M42 going south has the lane shut. Traffic's rather heavy going because of a multi-vehicle accident which has happened between junctions 2 and 1. The Redditch and Alchurch exit and the A38 Bromsgrove turning. It's lane 1 that's closed, and as I say, traffic is heavy going approaching and passing the scene. Further along, as you head towards the M5 interchange, is rather heavy going. The M5 itself has struggled all morning, quite frankly. Combination of the roadworks there between 4A and 6, and also a couple of breakdowns in the roadworks, which means traffic is heavy going between 3 and 5. That's the Hales Owen turn, the A456, and the Droitwich junction of the A38. We're getting reports of an accident on the A34 around Huntington at Pottle Pool Road. Police tell us they are on the way to the scene. Also, reportedly an accident in Staunton on the A449 between Prestwood Drive and Lawnswood near the Homestead, we understand. Again, officers are on their way to the scene, so we should be able to bring you further information shortly. Roadworks passing Hellzone on the A456 causing a bit of disruption. It's slow going further along the A456 near to Wassellgrove Lane in the Hagley area as you head on the Birmingham bound carriageway. And around Codsall, Strawmore Lane is blocked both ways because of an accident between the A41 and Motebrook Lane. If you can update us, 08453 002288.
The Commonwealth Games 2014 have begun, and this afternoon from 2, join BBC WM 95.6 live from Glasgow as we talk to the West Midlands athletes aiming for Commonwealth gold.
BBC WM 95.6.
03453 009956 is the telephone number if you want to give me a call. If you've been thinking all morning, hey, he's being such an idiot, I need to have a go at him. But you've been putting it off. Now is a good time to call. Because if you call now, there's a strong chance we'll be able to squeeze you in. Simon's on the line. Morning, Simon.
Morning.
Simon, what have you got for us?
You know how you said that, if you went to another country and there was a delicacy of like a dog or a cat or something, you'd eat it?
Yeah.
If human delicacy in another country, would you eat that?
If human flesh was a delicacy in another country, would I eat it?
Yeah.
My knee-jerk reaction, Simon, and this is just a knee-jerk reaction, is to say yes.
Okay.
I would have to weigh up the ramifications because I'm fully aware that working for the BBC, that the Daily Mail would flipping love that. BBC presenter eats human flesh. But if... My initial reaction is yes, but I don't think it is a delicacy anywhere in the world, is it?
I don't think it's illegal, is it?
Come on, listen, you right, OK. All joking to one side. You've been curious as to what it tastes like, haven't you?
Not human flesh, no.
Oh, no, come on. And there's no shame in admitting it. You have wondered, what does human flesh taste... Doesn't mean you're going to do it, doesn't mean you approve of it, but you've wondered what it would taste like, haven't you?
No, I can't honestly say I have, no.
Well, you surprise me. Would you eat a dog?
Probably. If I had to, yeah, if I had to.
Come on, listen, you and me, we're out in Korea. We're having a nice business week in Korea. We find ourselves in a restaurant, and I say, oh, sorry, look, they've got dog here. Shall we? Come on, you would, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I probably would, to be fair, yeah.
There we go, you see. You dirty dog eater. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. 03459 03453. I added a number, excusez-moi. 03453 00 9956. We're all curious about what these things taste like. And yes, if I had to eat human flesh, I would eat human flesh. I'm not saying it's a thing. And I know there's a horrible story in the papers the last couple of weeks about some chap who wanted to do exactly that. And of course I'm not condoning cannibalism on BBC WM 95.6. Are you crazy? Of course I'm not doing that. But if I was in a situation like those Peruvian footballers when they crashed on that mountain and they're there for months, there was a film of it. I've not seen the film, but I've read the book. Can't think what it's called. It'll come to me in a bit. But if I was in that situation and there were dead people there and I was starving, I'd eat it. Of course I would. Of course I would. You'd have to. 03453 009956. Coming up at midday, it's Lizzie Crowe. Morning, Lizzie.
Hello.
Lizzie, would you eat a dog?
Would I what? Eat a
dog.
A dog? No.
Yeah. Never?
Never. Well, the thing is, you don't always know, do you?
So, you don't always know what?
But I wouldn't knowingly, because I'd feel like
No.
it's a little cute puppy or something, and that would seem hard.
But what about those little cute lambs?
Oh, no, don't, because if you think about it too much, then you won't eat anything, will you?
Those little cute lambs frolicking around and then ending up on your plate on a Sunday.
Are you
It's
a
the same
vegetarian,
thing.
Ian?
I was a vegetarian for 25 years, and then about 6 months ago, I knocked it on the head, and I will now eat anything that's got a face.
And what was it that tipped the scale for you?
I tell you exactly what it was. I've got two little boys, and when I cook, I would cook meat for them. And when I would cook it, I would just taste a tiny little bit to make sure it wasn't too hot and to make sure it was cooked properly. And one day, I was my wife had left this bolognese for them, and I tried a little bit, and I just thought, this is amazing. I've not tasted anything like this in my life, and I ate it all up.
Ah.
Yeah, I know, and I was doing this secretly every once in a while. I thought, you know what, I can't.
You're a secret meat eater.
It was like I was back on the cigarettes or something.
Midnight feasts of massive big meat dishes.
It was, and one day I got in touch with my wife and said, look, don't ask any questions, but could you cook me a steak tonight, please? And she's like, what? I said, let's just cook me a steak and let's see where we go from there. And since then, I've not looked back.
So that's the thing, it is delicious, but I do think you don't want to think about it too much because it is horrible if you think about the fluffy lambs. But you see, my sister-in-law, she's a vegetarian, but she married my brother who's a massive meat eater. So she's got to the point where she can actually cook the meat in the sauce and then she'll just pick the meat out. And then when she got pregnant, because she needed certain vitamins and irons or whatever, she did start eating a bit of ham and bacon. You see, bacon smells so good. It promises
good.
so much, doesn't it?
That's a great way of phrasing
it. Hard to resist.
Lizzie, what's on your show this afternoon, please?
Oh, it's all sorts of things. We're looking at the fact that, kids are on holiday, so what is good to do out and about for you and the kids, but also just for you. Maybe you want to get away from the kids. Also, we're going to be speaking to a celebrity seamster and author. He was on the Sewing Bee. It's going to inspire us all, get our hobbies going. And I'm going to touch base with Adam Bridge up at the Commonwealth Games before he goes live from there to find out what's going on.
Always good, Adam Bridge. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I want to know what the atmosphere's like.
It's electric, Lizzie. It's electric.
How do you know? You're not in Glasgow.
I could just imagine. Nice to talk to you. Have a good show.
Cheers, you do.
See you later on. That's Lizzie Crowe on from midday, and then we've got the Commonwealth Games between 2 and 6. Barry's in Tamworth. Morning, Barry.
Morning, Ian.
The Commonwealth Games, Barry, does it mean anything to you?
Well, you mentioned the word getting excited, didn't you?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think those who are getting excited, very, very excited, those on site who are selling hot dogs, burgers, chips, soft drinks. They're the ones who are very excited, ain't they? I mean, look at the prices at any of these big sporting events. I mean, look at the prices are charged. So, I mean, they're going to have a pretty good holiday come the end of that, aren't they? You know what I mean?
I wonder who's... I'm just Googling. You can hear me typing away, because I wonder who's sponsoring the Commonwealth Games, because quite often these sports events... Well, no, I'm not saying it's corrupt, you silly sausage.
But quite often... So much corrupt then, but... Oh, maybe that's the wrong word.
Yeah, that is the wrong word, for legal reasons. But quite often, it's like burger companies and... I mean, didn't Coke sponsor football for ages or something? OK, so Longines. What's Longines? Do they make cigarettes?
Longines. Ain't it a watch? I thought it was a watchmaker.
Oh, yeah, you're right, it's a watch. BP, Ford, let's go down a little bit. Bar soft drinks. OK. Let's have a look. No, there's nothing too fatty there. Oh, Heineken. Kellogg's.
Well,
that's not too bad.
At the Olympic Games, wasn't there? There was a restaurant on a McDonald's. It was absolutely massive. I mean, they was part of the sponsorship, weren't they? But all these people that sponsor, sports, which is, like you've got to be very, very, very fit to partake in most sports. Well, all of them, I presume. And yet they're being sponsored by people who sell sugar-laden, fat-laden food. It makes sense.
That doesn't make sense, does it?
No, not at all, not at all.
Barry, listen, while I've got you on, can I ask you this? I don't know if you heard me talking earlier on about I saw a chap swearing in a shop in front of kids, and I went in and said, "Oh, excuse me, fella, there are kids there, watch your language." He told me to F off. Now, would you ever get involved in a situation like that, or would you ignore it?
Well, not at this time of life. I'm too old, aren't I? You know what I mean? Because, if he turns on you, no. I mean, obviously, I don't know. It's a hard thing to say. I mean, it's like we was on about when somebody, when that on the slide, when the mother grabbed the daughter. Now, I think that's just, I hate anybody ill-treating children.
Yeah.
I think I hate it, you know what I mean? But what can you do? I mean, if you try and do anything, when they get home, what's that poor little child going through, like, you know what I mean? If they're doing it in full, in sight of everybody, in full view of everybody, I mean, what's the poor little, what's that child being treated like at home?
And Barry, before I let you go, I'm going to make you work for your money. I've been sent a text, and I wish I'd spotted this text earlier. It's been sat in my inbox, and I've not spotted it. This is from Russell. Okay, have a listen to this. Talking about housework and fat people. Housework is for women. End of. Let's face it, they can't do anything else. And as for these fatsos, they are disgusting, vile creatures and deserve to be offended. Stay at home and stuff your fat, lardy butts in private, and don't subject me to such repulsion. Those are quite strong views, aren't they, Barry?
Well, yeah, the views of a very ignorant person, ain't they?
Barry, I appreciate your time this morning. Thank you very much indeed. Part of me likes to think... We've got lots of nice text saying nice things and lots of text saying not so nice things. I appreciate both, thank you. Isn't it funny? I can respond better to the insults than to the compliments. I don't know how to take a compliment. I would like to think that Russell is pulling our legs ever so slightly. He's teasing our plonkers ever so slightly with that text and is being inflammatory for the sake of being inflammatory. But maybe he isn't. And I have spoken to people in the past who are disgusted by fat people, who really find the very thought of them offensive and disgusting. And we all do. And listen, I hope I've not in any way implied I find fat people offensive or disgusting or ugly at all. I hope not. But we all do that thing, don't we? When we're sat on a coach or a train or an aeroplane and the seat next to us is vacant, and we see a fat person walking towards us, we all think, please don't sit next to me, please don't sit next to me, please don't sit next to me, please. We do that, don't we? Is that offensive to think that? I've done it when I've been on planes and there's the empty seat and they're coming towards me, you think, oh no, please, oh, they've sat next to me. Oh, thank goodness they've not sat next to me. Is that... It's going back to what we were talking to Fatima, I guess, right at the top of the show, talking about being made to feel ashamed and being made to feel less than. Is that part of it? Is that part of it, this subconscious feeling? No, obviously the reason on an aeroplane is because you don't get much room anyway, and you don't want your room to be taken up by somebody else. It's interesting, isn't it? Chris in Hales Owen, this will be the last email for the day, on this show anyway. Iain, I wish someone would invent a filter which cut out all the like I say, know what I mean, obviously, you know, lazy expressions and so on. Yeah, that's an interesting one. When people say, you know what I mean, it generally means I don't know what you mean. That's kind of what that's saying. Maybe we'll look at that next week. Lazy language. I'm aware that I have some lazy little tics. And I'm doing my best to avoid using them. Listen, that's it for this week. Thank you so much. Thank you to... it's been like a duck today, a nice tasty duck. It's been smooth on the top, the show, but under the water we've all been paddling furiously as various bits and pieces, you won't have known about it, the various bits and pieces have gone wrong. So thank you to Simon, to Bernie, to Johnny, to Alex and to everybody else who has helped make this show happen. Oh, and Nicole. Thank you, Nicole. It's all been stuck together with chewing gum and sticky tape. If you want to send me an email in the week, please do. IAIN, ian.lee@bbc.co.uk. Lizzie's coming up next, and then you've got the Commonwealth Games on BBC WM 95.6 from 2 o'clock. I'll be back next Saturday at 9.
We've full commentary of every Warwickshire cricket game this summer, exclusively online. bbc.co.uk/WM.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
BBC WM 95.6.
It's midday on BBC WM 95.6. Let's get the news now. Here's Nicole Pullman.
Israel and Hamas have begun a 12-hour truce in Gaza for humanitarian reasons. More than 800 Palestinians